What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast episode 220. Man, 20 weeks since we did episode 200, which is wild to me. I am your host.
I was there for
Angel
that.
Bode. You were. We were all there for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's
no,
crazy.
No, Hogue wasn't here. Hogue wasn't here.
What? Yes, he was.
What?
Really? Was that the Halloween one where we all dressed up? He wasn't here for that.
How is 20 weeks ago Halloween?
I don't
Do
know,
the math.
man. I don't. You tell me.
All right, Travis is going to be a problem today. I'm going to go ahead.
I probably am. Yeah. I should have warned you. I did warn you.
I'll start with Mr. Tie Guy Travis here, looking dapper as always, but lacking any sleep. So it's going to be an interesting one today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I am lacking sleep because, as you guys know, I'm reviewing Grounded, which I didn't know was a 100+ hour survival game. I thought, maybe it would take, 50 hours, 60 hours. And then I did 50 hours in the first weekend. And I was like, oh no, I'm nowhere near done with this thing. And so here I am, 100+ hours. I thought my review is due Monday. The embargo's on Monday, and I'm already not going to make that. So I was like, I need to play like crazy all weekend. And now it's looking like I'm not even going to have a draft of a game that I finished beating by Monday. So I'm probably going to end up with a review in progress tomorrow at some point and then go forward. So anyway, the reason I'm lacking sleep is because I was up all night, as I have been doing for the past 10 days, trying to beat this game. And it is just a glorious pit, a fantastic pit is what I will say. But it is, it's impressed me a lot. I don't even think I'm allowed to say that, but it is impressed me a lot. And
guys, this is just between you and us, chat.
Look, here's what I'll say.
Keep it to yourself, everyone.
Here's what I'll say. Of the content that is already publicly available, which is a lot of it, it is fantastic. And the other part that you haven't played yet, who knows?
Yeah,
I will not comment on that.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah,
I think you cleaned that up lovely.
Yeah, you just had to make that the difference clear there. So you're good.
Nailed it.
Keep it grounded.
That's right, folks. Delete your tweets about Travis saying Grounded is awesome.
Yeah.
It's that long, huh? Well, I almost set you up again. Okay, never mind. Moving on.
Well, I can talk about this. It is a survival game, which means that like in between each major story point, you have to do things like you have to like upgrade upgrade your base and get some like farming of materials done and like build schematics. And it's like, if you were just beelining straight for the story, you could beat it probably pretty quick, but I don't know how you would beeline it through the story because you need material and better equipment. And so it's like, all right, guys, we got to go do this next main story mission. All right, well, that means we all have to upgrade our armor and we've got to, make these changes to our house. And it's like playing Minecraft in survival mode. Like, it's like just a lot of stuff to prepare and get ready. And like, anyway, it's just a monster of a game. And I'm really enjoying it, but it is exhausting.
When you do your review in progress, I want at least 25 comparisons to Subnautica because that's my favorite, and everything should be revolving around me.
Okay, great. We'll do. I'll say, imagine if it wasn't underwater, but instead in a backyard.
That's awesome.
Exactly. Perfect.
I'm excited about it. I know Pampa, who's in the chat, has been playing that since launch. Super excited about it as well. I got Gecko and Gio Rio kicking off with crazy super chats already, which we will get to shortly. But let's get through our intro first. But Sardinisms quickly says, not only was Hogue here for episode 200, Travis, he was going full cheerleader, team dad mode everywhere, telling people about it. That's how I ended up tuning in, and now it's a Sunday ritual for me. So
wow,
thank you, sir. Appreciate
that.
Thank you, Sardinisms. I appreciate the backing up.
What did we do that episode? That wasn't the
we had a bunch of guests on.
That was the guests.
Oh
yeah, which by the way is the only Bitcast to cross 10,000 views on YouTube.
So far, Simpsons Give.
So far, we're a growing enterprise.
We are. I'm going to talk about that in a second, actually.
I didn't know what number we were on this morning. I mean, geez, I didn't, no idea.
Both of my
That's
arms are
crazy.
numb.
Where
Dan
would I
doesn't
have
always
died?
know that there's a camera on him, so
No,
we
no.
just let him go in the corner.
Yeah, just
No.
stare in Dan's corner. You'll see something interesting every few minutes. It's crazy. Hogue himself rocking the new Hogue. I don't know what mood.
Reasonable minds can differ. That's right. We've got the new store
Yes.
open. We're really actually very excited about how fast stuff is getting out of that store. So it's very
Yeah.
cool to see it on your body already. You know, I like to talk about your body, Ain. So that's a good way to
He
start a
does.
Sunday morning for me.
He does.
No,
Our
seriously,
DMs
Ain's
are
a jacked.
full.
You follow him on Twitter?
We
I'm
usually
an
make
intimidated
people
person.
pay for those DMs, Hogue. Come on now,
Oh,
don't give
sorry.
it away for
Okay.
free. Don't give it away
Okay.
for free.
I'm just telling you, man. It's a treat. Follow Ains on Twitter.
Oh God. Oh, boy.
Yeah, no, we've had a good weekend. We had Lawyers and Dragons yesterday. My Michigan Wolverines are still undefeated. Bring a little sports ball into it.
Barely.
Have-
Barely.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we were up by 15 with 2 minutes left. It's okay.
I don't want to hear it. It was Maryland.
Okay,
Haven't done
all right.
All right.
What team
Me and
do you
Travis
represent,
are like.
Dan?
Me and Travis are like.
What's happening?
Coming to Kinnick.
What team do you represent, Dan?
Coming to Kinnick next week. The Michigan
Oh, Iowa.
Wolverines.
Yes, that
They're
offense
coming
is
on in.
frightening.
Hey, I'll meet you up there. We'll go to the game. Let's go to.
I actually really like Iowa fans. Every Michigan game I've attended with Iowa fans, they've been nice.
Because we're pathetic.
Are they mad at each other or are they about to kiss?
No.
I'm very
No,
curious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Like any good college rivalry, there's love built into the hate. No, I don't actually hate Iowa. Iowa's like your lovely cousin that's just like, oh, yeah, good try, Iowa.
Yeah.
Good try.
That's true.
What's
I
college?
can't even argue with them. You know?
We're gonna split down the middle and have two separate conversations here.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. I was
Anyway.
just saying they were undefeated, and it's been a great week of video games. Honestly, I've been having a blast.
Fantastic. And the 7 himself, Mr. Rodriguez. Good morning, brother.
Yep, I'm here. I'm ready. Just got back from Colorado. Almost died. Mostly because my brakes were about to light on fire and, going up and down those hills. That's not
You have
great.
some mountains there, yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah, driving through
It's
the
not
Rockies is no joke. Yeah,
Yeah. No thanks. Never gonna do that again. Vail is nice, but it's probably meant to have snow. Otherwise, there's really not much to do. And McDonald's is ridiculously expensive there. I'm not sure what. Listen, my mother-in-law likes the Coke at McDonald's. It was $2.79. I had a hard time bringing myself to pay for her drink.
Wait a minute. Can we have a segment every week? Can we have Dan review remote McDonald's? Not like their restaurants, but just like how the McDonald's are in various areas of the country.
There was so much in that one sentence that I love. The fact that you
good.
drove through the Rockies to Vail and then talked about
Yes.
going to McDonald's is
Sure,
part
right.
one. The fact
No
that she
lattes.
likes the Coke at a specific restaurant as if they don't just ship that syrup to every restaurant the same way.
Let me tell you something. There
I
is
can actually read.
scientific studies.
I can have an article. I can have an article sent to you, Ains, about how the Coke at McDonald's is different if you want.
It is.
Wait.
Well, they
Shut up.
mix the amount of water with the syrup.
Is this real?
No,
Yeah.
they have different. Yeah,
They
you
have
know what?
different-
I'll send the article.
Yeah, for sure.
Send the
Yeah.
article.
It's
I'm
And you're
going
going to pay $3 for a
for a
Coke.
large
is-
Coke. Yeah.
That's
wild.
just America, Dan. I got news for you. It ain't Colorado. Welcome to
It's not Kansas.
2022.
It's $1
That's pretty
here.
impressive. They don't even
Oh,
have
man.
McDonald's where I am.
By the way, I'm being yelled at by Mrs. Hogue that the Coke
No.
is not the same, and
It
that
is the
McDonald's
best.
is the best.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not arguing with my mother-in-law.
Put
I'm
it
not
on a
arguing
shirt.
with Mrs. Hogue.
Put it on a
Yeah.
shirt, co-counsel. Let's see that
Yeah.
shirt next week. Next the hat. Let's do it.
Oh man, it was a good
Oh.
time. I'm glad I'm back. Let's talk
All
some
right.
games.
Well, this was an intro. So we're gonna we've
This
got
was chaotic.
yeah,
This is
we've
a
got
very chaotic intro.
yeah. We've got quite a bunch to talk about. We've got a couple follow-ups I want to do here in a second. We're going to be talking about superhero games today. We're going to be talking about Halo's Battle Royale kind of leaks that are happening that I'll touch on briefly and get your guys' thoughts on. And we've got cloud handhelds and a few other things to touch on. But first, a couple housekeeping things I wanted to talk about. First, Season Gaming Channel has been popping off lately. I don't know why. I don't know what happened, but love you guys. The views have been up in general across all of our videos, but just this week alone, they've gone up another 25%. And it's been just amazing to see the analytics on it. So subs popping in. Hogue, you know this better than I do, but sometimes the algorithm is just in your favor, and it seems to be that
sometimes
way.
I call it liking you. Sometimes it likes you.
Yeah.
But you put out good content, you put it out consistently, and we do both. You can get the robot to sometimes pay attention to you, and then there'll be a month where it's like we'll do 4 episodes and have 7 views, and it'll be okay. Just stay strong, brother. We're gonna get through it.
Season Gaming knows that all too well, but yes. But no, it's been great. So thank you all for your support. Even Bitcast last week is just rocking. So love you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
It's our Netflix anime series, by the way. You guys can check that out. That's really why people have come over to the channel.
Right.
So only on Netflix.
Yeah.
I also forgot, and this is my fault on this one, is that we did a $20 giveaway to follow the Bitcast account. So if you love the Bitcast, you like listening on the audio side, make sure you're checking us out on Twitter, Season Gaming and SG Bitcast. We're doing giveaways randomly for people who review us on Spotify, Apple, what have you. So I want to shout out to Stingray X. Reach out to me if you're listening to this. Otherwise, I'll hit you up on Discord or Twitter. $20, your platform of choice, and we will continue to do giveaways like that going forward. So just keep an eye for that, and we'll be giving you some credit towards some good games. Now, we have a couple follow-ups from last week that we had comments on that I wanted to touch on, and the first one is the funniest to me. So Don Lionheart, who comments and listens every week, shout out to Don. He was talking about our conversation on the Yakuza naming convention, which was a disaster last week.
Beautiful.
I had fun with it. I love words.
Oh, it was fun. So, and he broke it down. So I'm going to read this here. He says, okay,
right.
Here's how it's going forward. Yakuza as a brand is dead, which I think we mentioned last week. Yep, gone. So Yakuza Like a Dragon will be Like a Dragon going forward, as we said last week. Now, if they decide to use a subtitle or a number, who knows? Because Yakuza 6 was fully titled Yakuza 6, The Song of Life, as we know.
Something of life, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a Dragon Ishin, which we talked about, is a spin-off, period. It's unconnected to the main series.
Right.
Yes.
So now you got that. Like a Dragon, Gaiden, the man who erased his name, is a gap filler to explain what was going on with Kiryu between the end of Yakuza 6 and the start of Like a Dragon 8, or whatever subtitle they use. Because they haven't named it yet. Remember, it's just going to be Like a Dragon something, but we don't know what the name is yet.
Oh, Kiryu's showing up in the next Like a Dragon.
Yes. They showed that, right.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Dan, keep me honest here. You know better than anyone.
He has shown up in.
Does he know that he's muted, though?
Of course not. Of course he does.
Dan.
Okay, so I'm trying to. Okay, so here we go. So yeah, Kiryu is in the new Like a Dragon with Ishii, who was in Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, those are the two people that are walking out. He just has some weird looking gray hair that was unexplained.
Yeah, I've seen nothing about 8. So okay.
Yeah. And 8 is a direct sequel to Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is 7.
All right, so they're combining. Okay. All right. Yeah. And Like a Dragon's not going to be attached to Judgment at all. That's its own thing.
Right. Correct.
Yes. Even though it uses the maps and assets. And we could put them in a series if we felt so inclined.
Yeah, maybe they'll Kingdom Hearts it at one point.
Okay. You know what? But I am right that it does appear that Yakuza Like a Dragon has to change its name to something if the Yakuza brand is dead.
Yeah, it's now Like a Dragon.
It sounds like they already have. Yeah, they already have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that that's clear for everyone, you got it. Robert Varley followed up, and I think we talked about this in DM Hogue, but he said he wanted to know if you finished Edge Runners, the anime, because he said the second half of it is really strong, and that's what people typically rave about.
No, I'm only halfway through. As a father of kids, it is not the kind of show that you can just toss on. So you got to find your time for Edge Runners. So I think I finished episode 5 now. So we're behind because honestly, everybody dropped all their streaming shows in 1 month, and just keeping up is tricky. And so we actually had. I feel like we almost had a chart up on the wall. My wife and I were talking about watching something on TV, and it was like, well, if it's just us, we're watching this, and if it's us in the first one, we're watching this. If it's all 4, it's this. If it's us in the second one, we're watching this, because we're in various states of both acceptability and progress on these shows. And so it's like, yeah, it's an ordeal. Edge Runners has not made the cut for the late night viewing because I've been playing games, because games are cool.
Fair enough. That's always my problem. It's like I
Better.
could be watching something or I'll play something, and I'd rather play something. So
Yes. This is the way.
By the way, Nick says regarding Yakuza, when all fails, Wiki Yakuza is your friend. Probably tracks it all. There you go. All right. I know this
As long
next
as I can
question.
find Zero. Zero's my favorite.
There you
Whatever it's called.
Did you play
we'll
Like
end
a
it right
Dragon?
Yeah, I played. I got about halfway through Like a Dragon and fell off it.
Whoa. That game's
I'm
good.
sorry. I apologize.
You should.
All right, this next one, there was some back and forth after our last episode, and I wanted to ask you. I know this is a huge question. I know that we've touched on this in various aspects many times, but I wanted to just pose it anyway because Joe Munger brought up this. We were talking about like Tencent and goddamn Tencent and Microsoft last week, thanks to Dan. And Joe Munger referred to Microsoft as saying there's already this kind of elephant in the room who's trying to acquire everyone in the industry. And he pointed to Microsoft. And then Token Aussie, who's another one of our viewers, they were going back and forth, not in a bad way, but just talking back and forth, basically making the point that, or trying to make the point that there's no labor contraction we're seeing in the industry and the industry is continuing to grow. So, realistically, if Microsoft or Xbox, whatever, was having a negative impact with consolidation, or we were seeing mass consolidation, those two things wouldn't be true. So I wanted to just pose a question to you guys broadly. We'll keep this high level, but Microsoft and Xbox now being the serious players in the industry and putting all this money towards the gaming industry, and obviously the Activision Blizzard deal we've talked about many times. Do you see this as true consolidation and a bad thing for the industry long term, or do you personally think this is a good thing for those developers and studios long term?
That's a straw man. You said consolidation and bad thing. That's divergent.
That's true.
It is consolidation, I would argue. It's also investment in the industry. Yeah, you can have big tech companies that blow up little companies, and that's always a concern. But as I have said repeatedly in various venues and forums for the last few months, it is an enormously dynamic industry that is capable of making output in various and vast configurations. Yep. So even if it were to explode, I would still expect video gaming on the whole to survive. But there's no promise that the current configuration, studios, companies, or otherwise will. Do I think it's a good thing? Yes, I think competition's a good thing. I think investment's a good thing. And I think both of those things are happening from Microsoft. And Sony has to do stuff to combat that other than whining, and we'll see how they do.
I concur with pretty much all of that. I think it is both consolidation, and in this case, because it's a large company that was already bloated to begin with, I don't think necessarily a bad version of it. I would be much more concerned if Microsoft was buying up all of the smaller developers, but buying up Activision, I think, is probably better for the developers, and I think it's probably not a big deal in the big picture of things when it comes to consolidation, just because they were already a kind of a monster themselves, Activision was. So yeah, the rich eating the rich, keep it going, guys. I mean, go ahead, do it. But yeah, I don't think it's a big deal in this case.
No, I generally agree with you guys as well. You pretty much nailed all the points. There's not too much I have to say. I think there was a time where we've seen the EAs of the world and others kind of buy these smaller developers and kind of ruin them. We know that. We've talked about that many times over, but
that
all
Reaper picture exists for a reason.
But
pour one out for Bullfrog, my friends.
Yeah, no kidding. True. And Vicarious. Or not Vicarious.
Yeah, you could throw Vicarious in there.
Yeah, you could throw Vicarious.
Yeah.
Vicarious Visions got killed. Visceral got killed.
Visceral.
We can talk about BioWare at some point.
Yeah. But I think we are in a different space in the industry now. It's a different Microsoft leadership kind of structure. Also looking, if you're speaking directly about Microsoft, there's just a lot of positivity in the industry right now and expansion, as these guys just touched on. So I don't think it's a negative, really. But I do think, and I know Hogue and I specifically have talked about this many times, I do think that it is TBD of how Xbox leadership manages this many developers and how they can get these games out at a AAA quality and what that delivery looks like in the future. That's a whole different conversation than this one.
Yeah, that was really my whole thing, was just, I'm not a huge fan of all this consolidation, but I just never have been. I haven't seen enough out of them aside from purchasing everything. I want the content, and I've always been that person. You know, I don't give a crap who you buy. Just keep giving me the content and the games. And the last 3 or 4 years really haven't been fantastic for me as the, you know, from looking at Xbox, you know, and it's always next year. Eventually it'll hit and it'll be amazing, and they'll be throwing these out. You know, we talked about having, you know, that cadence of
We've been
games.
talking about that for a couple years now.
Right, we have been, right? That's the
Thinking it's
problem.
coming.
Yeah,
so is
every
Microsoft.
form, you know, we've got the studios now. There should be no reason not to be able to do that. And until they prove to me that they can put out that stuff, you know, I'm more cautious about all these big companies that they're buying up, because I'm like, well, when are they going to, you know, these are some of my favorite companies, you know, or not, maybe not Activision, but, you know, Bethesda with all, you know, with Arcane and everything. I want to see that content come out, and I'm not seeing it. So I question that. That being said, I really don't care in the end. As long as, you know, in 10, 20 years, I'm still able to play video games. That's all that really matters. I don't care.
Well, yeah, the whole, like, you know, bloated company getting purchased, like Activision has the same problem that Microsoft has with not being able to put out games and having project management problems and stuff like that. So hopefully they can do a better job with those IPs, but it's sort of like,
Well, and they just moved all of their studio. I mean, literally all of Activision Studios are working on Call of Duty.
Yeah, I know. It's very different than PlayStation buying Bungie, which I think it was, you know, very good. And
we got to convince the internet of that. You know, I tell you, it's always, I love it. I get so much, let's call it fan mail and whatnot, with like the pictures of like the Embracer group and everything else. And I know you heard me comment on it in DMs, and I might still do a video on it. But Satya coming out there and being like, the number one has purchased 3 companies or whatever. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Guys, this isn't even close to the same kind of transaction. And I am one of the staunchest advocates of the damn thing going through, but you're putting me in a bad spot here, Satya, because that is complete BS. And you don't have to pretend. You can say, you know, it's a big freaking deal. We understand it. We still think it's good for X, not, well, they purchased Fire Sprite. Get out of here, Hoss. Get out of here.
It's interesting wording.
They did, though. They did.
Yeah, they did. They nailed it. They also purchased that mobile company that hasn't made anything yet. Exact same. If we want competition, we should be allowed competition. Sure, buddy. Sure.
Well, that see the Bungie purchase and some of the smaller purchases worry me more than the Activision one, because like I said, like a bloated big huge monster getting eaten by another monster, it's like whatever, you know. That's
you're
not
worried about
really
artistic output though, Travis. That's not the same as market control.
I'm worried that one of the signs of the industry is in trouble is if smaller companies in the industry cannot compete without having a large financial backer like a Microsoft as a parent company. And when you see companies like Bungie, which says, hey, we're going to try to be independent, we're going to make a AAA game by ourselves, and then almost immediately fold and sell to another company, it makes me worried that like that's going to be the final, that's the only way
but
to
you
kind
literally,
of produce
Bungie is the divorcee that goes and marries 6 times. Like Bungie is a very bad example. Bungie does not like being alone. They say they do, but they go and they bed up with Microsoft. And then that it's a little cold, and they go, Activision, your bed's warm too. And that gets a little cold. And they say, Sony, your bed's looking nice right now. And when that gets a little cold, they'll go and say, hey, China, how are those Chinese bucks doing? And that'll get a little cold.
Hogue, are you slut shaming Bungie?
I am, as acquisition sluts. Just to be clear.
Wow.
There's our quote for the week.
Wow.
I'm just saying, Bungie's a good name for them because they're constantly going between different states and being, and they're constantly getting purchased.
Nice.
I like it.
I like that.
Yeah, I like it. All right. So I think we've tackled that. Let me get to these super chats because Gecko and Geo hit us right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So I'm
Way
going
to go, Gecko and Geo. We love super chats. Thank you for supporting the channel.
Exactly what Hogue said. Let's start with Gecko. Dan, you wanna get back to your super chat reading roll here?
Yes, sir. Go Gamer. Thank you, sir. I am in a zoo, so I will listen to this later. For the main subject, I do believe there is too much to focus on superhero stuff and gaming, but I say that as someone who isn't interested in Marvel/DC comics.
Fair enough, Gecko.
Yeah,
fair enough. That's That's the conversation we're going to have here shortly. So thank you. Obviously, when you tune in later, you can hear and we'll refer back to your comment. But thank you for the generous super chat.
He just doesn't like. He just doesn't like Marvel and DC. He's really into those indie comics. That's what I'm taking.
Hope you have a great day at the zoo, my friend. All right. And then Gio came out crazy here. He hit us with 4 back-to-backs. So let's
That's right, Gio. Thank you.
Gio.
All right, we'll start with this first one, the €5. Actually, I think they're all €5.
They are several of them.
Yeah. All right. Arkham.
He got his
Spider-Man.
money worth instead of one $20. He did 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's really it's kind of wise investing. Yeah. Arkham Spider-Man Guardians proof that comics can be great. Inspiration for games in this time where storytelling and experience is key to the mass. Yes.
Masses. Yeah.
Masses. Okay. Yeah.
That's fair. Let's tackle his. We'll do all 4, and then we'll tackle
them
it
together here. It looks like.
Yep.
In the 90s, 2000s, there have been many more comic-based games than today. Though with so many TV streaming comic-based series, next to the multitude of movies, overexposure to the comic genre is what could be actually a bigger issue, creating fatigue in general. I'm gonna keep going. Okay, but there are many more comics than only Marvel and DC. That could be a great inspiration for games. Lock and Key, as does manga. Sorry. Yeah, that was.
They're just trying to get you to say MAGA, Dan.
MAGA.
Oh, God.
Manga for the Japanese gaming market.
So this is I like this comment a lot. Even though you broke it out, Gio. So first of all, thank you. That's very generous. And second, there's a lot to touch on here. I will save a lot of these comments for when we get to the core conversation, because you touched on a lot of the things I wanted to talk about in that.
No, it's great stuff. I don't think it's a comic issue. It's a superhero issue, but we'll talk about it in a sec.
Yeah, for sure. And then final super chat for the moment.
Okay. Was it Ladays?
Ladays. Yes.
Ladays. Dan manifested an Oxenfree 2 delay. I did.
You know, actually, he talked to me about this privately. And he said he was actually so excited and he had changed his mind after delving back into Oxenfree that he just wanted more time to kind of marinate and relish the hype for Oxenfree 2. Dan is going to have a playthrough of Oxenfree 2 for you when it comes out. It's going to be glorious. It's going to be a good time. And he's just super excited about its release.
All true.
That's right.
All 100% true.
Yep. I believe the message I sent was delay it till 3023. I don't care.
He might have said that.
Yeah, that might have been me.
I did DM him right away, or this group, when I saw the delay. I figured Dan would be heartbroken, which he was. So.
I think I tweeted out, not angsty enough. That's got to go back in there and.
Oxenfree is not a Dan, I can show you some angsty indie adventure games, man.
Oh, I've seen
Oxenfree is not where I would send you for the top level indie game angst.
I don't care about people's relationships. Punch them in the face. That's what I want to say.
Oh wow.
I don't.
Isn't punching in the face a relationship though?
In Alabama or something. I mean,
kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Alabama chat fans.
Yeah.
Dan apologizes.
We just lost for Alabama.
Our Alabama contingent. That was
Bomber is in Alabama. I will point out. Thank you.
Didn't he say put it at wall?
There you go.
Oxenfree is still one of the best dialogue system solutions for adventure games in history. Check it out.
Yeah.
Sure, you should play the game.
And as always, I'm going to go ahead and move on.
What are you talking about?
Hey, potion permit.
Now, guys, what we're currently playing, not Oxenfree, please. What we are currently playing. So give me something that you're currently playing that you've been enjoying. Go.
I love Return to Monkey Island.
Nice.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
It's so cool to see a sequel like that coming out at this point in time, and people really enjoying it. Got very high reviews too.
It's Monkey Island.
Yeah.
Like it's not like hollow skin-suited shell of Monkey Island. It's Monkey Island.
Same creator.
It's the Maverick of adventure game returns. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ron Gilbert. I mean,
how appropriate.
Tumbleweed
You
Park
fight
isn't
like a
great.
cow.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Have you? I haven't touched it. So, is it about the same length? Have you finished it? Like,
haven't finished it. I recently got to chapter 2. Actually, at about 5 hours.
Okay.
So I'm guessing same-ish length, but good, not short. Goodly lengthy. And Maybe a
Put that on
little,
a shirt.
maybe a little lighter on the puzzling, because people can't stand it in the modern age. But it does still have puzzles. They didn't Telltale Games it.
Okay.
So
All right. Cool.
delightful. It is funny. Travis is constantly talking about comedy in games. Monkey Island is witty as heck.
You can bet I'm gonna love Monkey Island. I have had to live vicariously through my boss, Ryan McCaffrey, who did the review on this and has had it for a while now. I assume beat it and finished the review.
So
but
good.
yeah, it's
Excellent on Steam Deck.
It's on my list, man. I mean, like you said, like comedy games. Oh, we need more of them. So yeah,
I have laughed out loud multiple times.
Nice.
Multiple
Well, I
times.
have
the Hogue
two-
lol.
The whole wall. Yeah. Oh my god.
I have
shirt
two,
now.
I have 2 flights in the next month, so maybe I'll put it on Steam Deck and enjoy that on the plane.
Yeah, disregard the question mark. Fully functional on Steam Deck. They just haven't tested it yet.
Cool.
Sometimes I just take the plunge. I'm like, I'll play it on my computer if it doesn't work. So it works fine on Steam Deck. Fully recommended. Highest marks from me. Excellent week of video games because I played Return to Monkey Island and Dio Field, but I'll let somebody else go first before I talk about Dio Field.
Dio Field. I need to play that too. Oh, Grounded is my life right now.
I say go ahead, Hogue, because I am living in live service mode. So I've literally played nothing but Halo, Apex, and Modern Warfare 2. So I can't really add anything to the conversation you haven't heard me say before. So please go ahead.
I think people have come and said to me, because one of the things I say a lot, and I think I've said it here a lot, is I miss the PlayStation 2 era of people throwing crap at a wall and seeing what works and getting that level of variety and having that level of fun. Dio Field Chronicle, I believe, as I described it to my brother while we were chatting and playing games, I said is PlayStation 2 of a game as I can recall. In that it is like, oh, this is Square Enix being like, I wonder if we kind of did a Baldur's Gate real-time with pause action thing as the strategy component of one of our normal kind of politics games and how that would go. And the answer is it goes freaking great. Now they've done a lot of quality of life things in there to make it work. And once you get going, you can zip through these things. It's flashy. You can call it Bahamut as much as you want, basically. And he always is a good time. For a good time, call Bahamut. The only thing I would say is it's not getting the Final Fantasy 16 money. It is not getting the Square Enix maximum bucks. But as soon as you turn on performance mode, which I couldn't recommend more, it's a flat 60 in almost all instances.
What are you playing it on?
PlayStation 5.
Okay.
I'm playing it on my PlayStation. It's just a mental thing, right? In terms of where you play things, but it's like, no, I play it on Square Enix games mostly belong on the PlayStation. It's just my head.
They believe that too, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's just how my head works. The JRPGs go on the PlayStation. It feels wrong with the Xbox controller. I don't know what to tell you. That's a me thing, not a you thing. But Dio Field Chronicle, I would describe as when you first start playing it, I actually was like, I'm not sure if this is going to work because it takes a while to get used to. It's kind of a new control scheme, which is that fun of PlayStation 2 era where it's like we don't quite know what we're doing, so roll with us. And as you get further into it, you're like, oh, I get how this works. And you're moving people around in flanking patterns and getting them out of danger zones and figuring out how to use their skills together. And it's hero based, right? So it's like 4 people at a time. It's not 1,000, but it's closest to a real-time strategy game in terms of how it feels with a controller focused control mechanism. The plot, I can tell you that it borrows liberally at the start in terms of the political situation from Valkyrie. If you're familiar, not Valkyrie, Valkyria Chronicles, which isn't at all difficult to remember. But it has the same kind of concept. You're a small nation. You've got the resource 2 big nations want, and you're dealing with that. You run a mercenary group. And so it is far more focused on military strategy than character stuff. So if you're thinking of Valkyria Chronicles and you're thinking about, oh, I love that cutscene that's 18 minutes long where they talk about baking bread, which admittedly is good stuff. That's not in this. This is a lot closer to an Ace Combat kind of approach. You've got a lot of story going on with hugely long, like briefing sequences as to how you're going to break into this prison or what you're going to do here with giant holographic arrows and that kind of thing. Very much focused on the war of it all. But it is exactly my cup of tea. I anticipate that it'll wind up getting like 7s and the odd 8. For me, it's a kind of 10. I love it. It makes me happy. It is new and different. It performs well on the console, and I think I like it better than Triangle Strategy, which is not
you
what
were
I
pretty big on that too.
I like Triangle Strategy a lot.
Yeah.
So that should give you kind of the context there.
Very cool, man. I didn't. You're exactly right. I know we talked about this briefly in DMs, but yeah, it's getting about 7s. It only had a few reviews.
What I would expect.
At launch. So I know, Travis, we joked that, probably the IGNs of the world, the big outlets probably got their copies, but otherwise, because I did talk to 2 other outlets who said they didn't get any PR about it at all. I mean, literally nothing. So
you sent that DM. You sent that DM, and I had just read a Twitter from somebody that actually said it's like my first North American release, and I'm in charge of the PR. And then you sent the DM like at the same time. I was like, I wonder if it's going all right.
Oh man,
because I feel bad, especially new jobs. I mean, like that stuff is tough. And I do feel like DioField went under the radar. I don't know that I would have translated it as DioField. I think that's like it just strikes me as weird. I'm totally into JRPGs and whatnot, and it's like that title is tough.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great. Now they do one thing that I don't like in terms of presentation, and that is Geralt is the main narrator, and he's the main narrator of like roughly half of my fantasy-based games.
Nice.
So he's the narrator of Spellforce 3. He's the narrator of the Rat Demon Souls that I can't remember.
I love that game. I reviewed it.
Yeah, it's a very good game. But he's
a Tale of Iron or something.
Yeah, it's like Iron Tail Iron. Yeah, you probably got it.
I think it's Tale of Iron. Yeah,
anyway,
I love that game, man.
I don't have a problem with him. I like him, but he's Geralt of Rivia. We got the Nolan North issue here, which is like, yeah, awesome. Nice to hear from you, Troy Baker. But he does the early stuff, and he's not quite doing Geralt. He's trying to be a little bit more regal, and it's like, oh, you're Geralt. I don't know what to tell you.
Cockle is his name. Something Cockle. I follow him.
Well, more power to him for getting work. I don't want to take that away from anybody, but it's like, yeah, okay, fantasy game. Because I just played Spellforce 3. It's like he's the narrator of that. It's like, okay, you can have other fantasy narrators. It is okay.
Yeah. Doubt it.
You go with the safe play. I mean, I know how these decisions are made, but it's like, differentiation is important too.
Yeah. I heard Troy Baker's going to do the second one. So
what was I just playing where it was Troy Baker and I was like, Jesus.
Everything.
Any other game, basically.
Yeah, pretty much anything else.
If we want diversity, I have been available this whole time.
I'm just wondering what it was though. Is he in Shipbreaker? I don't think he's in Shipbreaker. Yeah, it was something where I wasn't expecting him. I was like, oh, come on.
Travis is having little conversations with himself over there. I really do think you're like delirious for lack of sleep right now.
I can't feel my arms. I don't know if that's a good sign.
Anyway, between DioField and Monkey Island and Splatfest weekend, we've been having a grand time in Hogue House.
Awesome. Yeah,
I'll play a murder victim. Maybe a clerk. I don't know. What do I have the voice of?
Clerk, you nailed it. I think you're good. Yeah.
Cool.
I've been playing a lot of Halo and Apex Legends. Just like I said, it's where I live, the competitive space. And this weekend, right now, actually, is the Halo Championship Series in Orlando. Sarko in the chat is actually there in the building, but it's the last major tournament of the year before the full-on World Championship in Seattle next month. So for Halo fans, it's a big weekend. So
nice.
Checking that out.
I like that Travis is getting 30-second naps when he turns off his camera.
I don't know what he's doing. I'm guessing it's his allergies again.
It is my allergies again. You guessed correct. I'm saving you guys all the visual of me blowing my nose into the mic.
Yeah. Thank you. Dan, you playing anything good, or are you kind of in the usual space like me, playing the regulars?
Yeah, probably regular stuff. Yeah, I haven't really been here, so I literally got home yesterday.
That's true.
Yeah, I put on Hitman and did the elusive target, turned it off, and then I went to sleep.
So you spent the last 2 weeks driving around the world, being a real hitman.
Oh man, we got more games this week.
A real human.
We got more games.
Hitman.
Slime Rancher 2 is out. We've enjoyed Slime Rancher 2. It's in early access or game.
I might be reviewing that.
All right. Let me know if you need any. If you want to add any of my girls into that review, I'm sure they'd be happy to give their thoughts. They have a lot of thoughts about plorts.
I'm happy to receive them.
All right. So that came out. Yeah, we just been having tons of fun.
It's been a good week. It has been a good week. Really
Hardspace Shipbreaker is fantastic. If you haven't played that, it is great.
I've seen people talking about it. Yeah.
Which one?
Hardspace Shipbreaker.
Great name. Marketing team.
I get it mixed up. I occasionally say, Hardship Space Breaker. It's like you just put it in different orders. It had one of my favorite things in a video game, which is that it had a complete fake end user license agreement for you to enter into to join the corporation before taking on $1 billion of debt.
Beautiful.
And I definitely read the sections of it. It's long.
Of course you did.
But it has some great things about how the clones are theirs and not yours. And if your brain breaks in the cloning process, they take possession of your body and they don't have to inform your family. All good stuff.
Let's see a Hoglaw episode about the
just breaking down the end user license agreement,
the viability of that end user license agreement. If it could,
I'll go invite one of the developers on. Send me your writer. We'll talk about it.
Cool,
man. So yeah, you guys have been in heaven then. A lot of big games. I know you've been waiting on Slime Rancher 2 for the girls. Splatoon's out. It's been a good couple weeks, I guess.
Oh yeah, we're Splatooning it. My daughter is actually most in favor. I think she loves all the aspects of Splatoon, but I see her continuing to go back to the card game. If you didn't know, they have a card game within Splatoon 3 now. So
Dan, Dreamlight too. Dreamlight still a thing? Dreamlight Valley.
Oh, Dreamlight Valley. I was just playing last night. As a matter of fact, It crashed on me. So we're through at Dreamlight Valley.
There you go.
What was it? It was one of the. It just was like nah. It's like I'm trying to finish my Pixar Fest. Before
that's a grind.
Grind.
It's such a so I will say people comment on saying that that feels like a mobile game a little bit, and the one thing that does is it's like go mine Topaz. It's in one area and whatever, go hit your percentages.
go walk around in a
30
circle
minutes.
and
I'm good.
I'm good. Wait till they respond.
No Topaz at all. Well, that's the extra stuff. It's like not the main game.
Yeah, that's the season pass stuff, and it's also, it's for friendship. You're mining friendship.
It is. It's fun. You're going to look for Topaz with Scrooge. You're having a blast.
Mining friendship. Okay, that's how that should be their tagline.
That's why I'm on the show, Ains. I'm mining friendship with you three and all of our listeners.
Okay, here you go, Travis.
Listeners like you.
Mrs. Hoglaw is talking about a conversation that actually happened in Hogue House, which is that the older daughter tried to convince the younger daughter with Slime Rancher 2 that we needed to focus on the slimes that actually make us money to make our ranch work and not just the cute ones.
She's going to lose that battle.
The whole conversation.
Cute always wins. Cute always wins over money when it comes to
they've added animals. They got all sorts of stuff in the new one.
Cool.
They got to get those plorts.
There was a lot of people I know that were looking forward to it. Like when whatever day that was, Wednesday or whenever it was supposed to come out, Slime Rancher 2. I saw a lot of tweets like, "Where is it? Why is it not on Game Pass yet?" And like people were waiting for it.
There is it. But they didn't even put up a placeholder. Like I can. It's fine if I know that you're not completely ignoring the thing, which is it was a little bit rare to show up in the morning and be like, it doesn't even know there is a Slime Rancher 2.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move.
Reviews, by the way.
So that was Hogue House Plays Video Games as a segment.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think we're an hour in and we just got past what are you playing? I think that's what happened.
Yeah, we had other topics. So we'll move to the main topic today, which is around superhero games. So we had this week the announcement finally, which has been long rumored from EA and Motive in particular as a developer, that they're making an Iron Man game. This followed on the back of a week prior. We know that Skydance, Amy Hennick's new studio, is working on a Black Panther / Captain America game. And we, of course, have several other games in development. So we have Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine from Insomniac. We've got Suicide Squad from Rocksteady. We've got Gotham Knights coming out later this year. We've got Midnight Suns coming out later this year. We've got Wonder Woman in development from Monolith and WB Games as well, and a few other kind of smaller ones. There's RoboCop and a bunch of other ones I looked through. But I guess the question I want to pose to you guys is, it's funny because even Travis and Hogue, even before you guys joined Bitcast, like I remember 2 to 3 years ago when Dan and I were actually talking with Bert at the time, we were seeing, the Hollywood explosion of the superhero genre had come, right? And tens of billions of dollars and what have you, or more than that, trillions of dollars being made for, the superhero movies. And we've seen kind of what's happened in Hollywood. And even, some actors come out and say there's too many of them, too much of a focus on it, what have you. And we said at the time years ago on Bitcast that this would eventually come to the gaming community. That Spider-Man had hit right on PlayStation 4. It was a huge hit. It's their best-selling PlayStation 4 first-party game, even more than God of War. And it continues to sell well. It was in the top 10 on Steam last week with the PC launch. And so it's been a few years now. Obviously, game development is a longer tail, and it is we're starting to see this now. So I just ran through a bunch of the titles. These are big studios, man. Rocksteady obviously got famous for Batman, funny enough. But they've been working on Suicide Squad for years. Insomniac is a fantastic first party under PlayStation. WB Games, again, EA and Motive. So all of these kind of AAA talent and studios working on superhero games. And I guess the question I want to see posed to you guys is, are you excited about this? Were you a big fan of the movies? And therefore, if you are, this probably excites you and the potential for these licenses in gaming. But I think there's also the other side of the coin where I tend to fall, and it sounds like going back to Gecko Gamer's super chat around, I really enjoyed when video games were their own thing and we saw new stories and new IPs and new characters rather than pulling from just licenses. And licensed games have a funny history in the gaming community to begin with, right? In the gaming industry. Typically, they weren't very good and, they were just kind of capitalizing on the IP. Whereas what we're talking about now seems like, anyway, on the surface, a much bigger focus, much more development money, much better talent working on these big budget comic-based games. So what are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you think this is a good thing, bad thing, indifferent to it? Are you a wait and see, or do you think we're going to see more of this as time goes on? What do you think?
Probably we'll see more of it. I'm one of the people where I'm a fan of the movies and also not a fan of it infecting all of video game. Like, the movies are good, but I tend to not like when video games parrot Hollywood, which they often do. You see some video games trying to basically be movies in a lot of ways, and that's not a knock on walking simulators or games that have really long cutscenes. I think that's all cool. I just think that games are their own medium. They can do stuff that movies can't do. They're better than movies, in my opinion. And so why would you feel like you have to chase after a dinosaur, which the movie industry certainly is at this point. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. That said, I don't really think it's that big of a deal right now. I think there have always been lots of licensed games, and even though they're better now and being made by bigger studios is not that big of a deal, we still have the Fast and Furious Crossroads and many other to show that licensed games can still be awful. And
they're trying to match the movies, so it works.
How dare you, sir? How dare you, sir?
Laid that right up.
I know that was a T.
Yeah, well, we have to have some drama here. I was told that our demographic really wants that, so I laid that.
God help me if I could have a show without drama.
Right. So anyway, yeah, I'm not. I think on this one, probably the invisible hand of the market is going to do its job. If people like it and buy the games, they'll probably make more of them, and I assume some of them will not work out and people won't play them. But every once in a while, you get a licensed game that crushes it. Guardians of the Galaxy last year. Fantastic game, licensed game. Did not think it was going to be good, and it was. So I'm sure it'll work itself out. I'm not super worried about it. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I don't think it's the end of the world right now.
Well, I think it's useful to note that one of the issues that prior licensed games in other eras had was that they would copy the beats of the movie, and I was never interested in doing that. Doing the exact same thing. You talk about Guardians being great. Guardians is notably, even though inspired clearly by the Marvel successes, notably not the Marvel Guardians doing the Marvel plot. And there are actually differences in both background and characterization that was super fun. And honestly, after I was finished with Guardians last year, I was like, those are the better Guardians. that is a better Guardians group than is in the MCU. But yeah, they sold off the MCU. I don't think it's a problem because honestly, I think they're going to be evaluated separately. If one of these is bad, they'll be evaluated as a bad game. If they're good, they'll be evaluated as a good game. I have to be honest. I don't love the saturation in movies either. And this is from someone who loved the first 10 years of the MCU, give or take. There were better movies and worse movies. But that is completely over, like, only ever having superhero movies be tent poles. That once again remembers whatever the equivalent of the PlayStation 2 era is in movies and likes that a little bit better. I personally think, even though it's a 30-year-old reboot, one of the reasons Maverick was such a success is that it's not a superhero movie. And you look at it against Thor, and Thor wasn't much of a success because, like, yeah, all right. Talk to me when you've got an actual plot together for your movies, and we'll get back to it. And there's nothing wrong with that to me, but I would very much like to move away from saturation. And if there's a risk profile here, it's that they all are successful and that everything gets swamped by Spider-Man and Wolverine and things. But I'm pretty confident that the Suicide Squad is not going to do the numbers that Rocksteady is hoping for. And so at least maybe we'll get a little bit of backstopping on. You have to pick your licenses, folks. You really do.
So it's funny because I think, would it be fair to say or no that you mentioned that if they're successful, we'll get a swamping in of it. Is it fair to look at Insomniac and say on a microcosm level that that's happened with the studio, right? So Spider-Man was probably a far bigger success than they realized it would be. I'm sure they knew it would be big, but obviously it's this tremendous success now, right? You're talking about 20, 25 plus million copies sold. And
you think
now,
it's that high?
Oh, it's
the last I'd heard is 14 or 15, but I guess that's not the PC.
Oh, it's up there. Yeah, take a look. It's wild. It's the number one selling PlayStation 4 first party game. So anyway. But so obviously now they're focused, right? They're supposedly Insomniac's working on 3 projects, but clearly the bulk of their development is Spider-Man 2 and now going to be Wolverine, right? So it seems
Spider-Man,
like
Wolverine, and Ratchet, right? I mean, like they're a franchise studio. I can't imagine they're not working on another Ratchet.
That could be true too, but their smallest team probably of the 3, right? So which is kind of my point. So you've taken this developer who makes fantastic games, fantastic studio, and now their focus is superhero games. And that's what the next several years is what we're looking at.
Well, I think sometimes you do
just asking. I'm just asking questions.
Sometimes you do one for the money and one for the art, right? You can do multiple things, and I think a lot of studios have a cash cow now, something that they know they have to do to make money, and then after they make money, then they spend their money on funding creative projects that are bigger risks.
But they're not.
Insomniac's
not.
One, they're not in charge.
That's true.
They sold their charge.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the risk that they're going to be told what to make, but that's more to do with the fact that they got acquired than.
Well, Sunset Overdrive and Fuse put them in a bad state. Like, I mean, they'd already touched the wire and gotten shocked, and then gone back to Ratchet, and then got the Spider-Man approval, and then they knocked it out of the park. I don't think that it's Spider-Man for the money. Spider-Man 2 could be, or Wolverine could be. Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales shows a real love of that. I think that's why those games work, because you could feel when Activision was churning out Spider-Man games sometimes and be like, yeah. That's the contract said that one had to go out then. And that doesn't happen with Spider-Man 2018 or Miles Morales. So true, one hopes that will continue.
Yeah, true. I guess the fear there is that, the studios are their people. And now there's a whole bunch of people who want to work for Insomniac because they want to make Spider-Man games. In the same way
also true. Yeah.
The same way that people move to Bungie because they want to make, Destiny, and not because they want to make new games at Bungie. And so there's some studios and some talent that you know what you're getting, and they're going to hire to build the things that they want to build. But losing your identity is one thing, but the people are still there, right? And they can go and work for a different company, or they can build something 100%. Else new if they have the wherewithal to do it. So I think it's too fluid. It's not like we're taking all these talented people and we're putting them in a cage and going, you must make Spider-Man. The crowds demand blood. It's not. It's just you make what you want, and if it's not working for you, if Insomniac is now the Spider-Man studio and you're not about that, you can go and work somewhere else. But
sure, and you saw that with Activision. You saw exoduses from when they went all Call of Duty. I mean, you see that all the time. To me, honestly, Insomniac is the least of our worries. Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine, the least of our worries. I have no faith in Motive at all. I don't know when everybody decided Motive was a good studio. I'm sorry if you work at Motive, folks. I'm not saying you are a bad studio. I'm saying you have proven nothing to me at this point. So good luck on Dead Space. Good luck on Iron Man. I have no reason to think that I should be excited for those projects yet.
Look, maybe they're not good, but they're motivated. It's in the name.
I'm not.
Oh my God.
Literally,
Gosh,
the
you
difference
really
here
need
is
some sleep,
not.
dude.
The difference is not that company is crap. Motive has done nothing to impress me so far, and it's like, get excited for Dead Space, get excited for Iron Man. No, EA, I'll meet you when you show me some stuff, I guess. But no. So that was a surprise to me to see it was Motive again. It's like, what? They're like, that's the company EA is using to make their
Under EA.
stuff.
It was kind of funny to see so many people tweet out that they better be using the flight mechanics from Anthem too, which was kind of funny to think about. Anthem always comes back up somehow.
I think it's
I don't
because
think
you're
they
part
can.
of
It
the
can't be a
algorithm.
Frostbite game.
You're right, Travis. Say it again,
Yeah.
Hook.
Oh, all I was saying is they can't. I don't think it can't be a Frostbite game. They're not going back to that well. Not Motive.
Well, the good news is that DICE is making a new Battlefield game, so I'm sure they'll nail this one. That's all. That's a whole other topic.
What you got? Once bitten, twice shy, 4 times bitten, 5 times as shy. I don't know.
Yeah, we need a new song. Dan, I know. So I'm going to pose to you here because we did talk about this a few years ago, and we started to talk about what this could look like. And I know you are a Spider-Man stan. You adore Spider-Man. You love the comic stuff. What do you think about this? Are you excited about this? You cautious? Do you care?
Here's the thing that we constantly get horror games, Souls-like games, roguelites, and stuff like that. I mean, and it just pours in constantly. And this is just another one of those genres that I wish there were more of, but there isn't. I mean, there's only a certain amount of licenses, and there's only a certain amount of studios, and the crossover is probably pretty small. As far as Insomniac goes, we don't know. They could have a team that's working on something like Grounded, and we have no clue, right now what they're working on. They could have.
If you want live services at Sony, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
it's true.
Ratchet and Clank.
Right, that's what I mean. Right, yeah, they could have a whole studio that's working on that part of it. I mean, there's they said there's 20 something or whatever games they've got working live service games. I don't know. Not
10.
my cup of tea.
It's 10 that are
it's
currently
12.
in active development.
30, 40, yeah.
No, not that many.
Okay. 10. I don't know. I don't pay attention to numbers. Regardless, I love comic books. I've reached that point where I'm okay turning my brain off. I don't need, I do appreciate games like Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy. They didn't follow strictly the MCU movies, right? So
no, not at all.
That's fantastic. You can do so much. That's one of the benefits of these licenses. You're pretty much, assuming that you get the approval from, Disney or WB or whoever owns the IPs.
Disney or Disney. Maybe
yeah,
Disney.
Yeah. You can do pretty much whatever you want with them, and I think there's a potential to, kind of oversaturate it a little bit. But, as long as you keep putting out good games, that's all I care about. That's all I've ever cared about. And Spider-Man, Miles Morales were two of my favorite games, probably of this.
They're very, very good.
Oh, they're so good. And they're well written. They're fun to play.
Yep.
Right. That's the biggest thing for me is they're not, games where you're struggling to do certain things. It's just fun, and it's a lighthearted take on all the seriousness and all the I don't know. It just seems bland sometimes when you get some of these licensed games, and so I'm excited for Wolverine. I'm excited for pretty much all these that you've mentioned.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
I can't be excited about Wolverine until I understand what type of game it is.
True. I just love. He's one of my favorite
idea.
characters. He's one of the few
It's a
that
dating
I would
sim.
get excited for.
But I'm not excited for Iron Man until they show me something. I'm definitely not excited for trailer of Black Panther and Captain America. That's not a game.
Did nothing.
So you're gonna have to show me something all around. But I mean, that's the way I am. See, the one thing I disagree with you on, Dan, is that you say that like roguelike, you used like video game genres, roguelikes and Souls-likes and things like that. That's not the same as comics, which is a theme, specifically superhero comics, because we have no shortage of third-person action adventures, open world or linear. So like that is covered, regardless of whether you're using licensed characters or not. So that's the only thing I would say there. And in terms of Gio's comments, I would say if there's going to be saturation as a problem, you are right. It is superheroes. It is not comics, right? Like Sandman was still enthralling to me, and I didn't even think of it as a comic, really, while I'm watching it. It is not the same kind of deal.
It's kind of like Wolf Among Us is a comic.
There you go.
Another example, and I'm pumped about Wolf Among Us too. And I think a few people I know have commented, and I kind of got the same thing when I was talking to some others. Is we often think when we say comic, to your exact point, Hogue, we think of the Iron Mans, the Supermans, the Spider Mans. In reality, there is a vast world of comics, quote, to pull from, right? With all kinds of different characters, dark stories, lighthearted stories, everything. So that was actually the next point I was going to make, which is I really hope that, and this goes back to the money aspect, right? Like Spider-Man as an IP and Batman as an IP are gigantic, right? I mean, they just dominate SEO and all number of other things, and they make tons of money. So that's why those games are always so focused on, right? Whereas I really hope we start to see some of the more maybe single A or B characters from comics and stories from comics, because I think there's a lot of opportunity there. But then we get back to the question of, are these big studios that we're referring to, or the level of investment you need for a AAA kind of experience, going to happen to smaller IPs that are lesser known? Do they think, will publishers be willing to take that risk, knowing that you can't say it's Spider-Man, which is going to sell instantly?
Probably not.
I don't know, but I'm all in for the Swamp Thing adventure game. Let's do it.
You are
Swamp Thing
not
dating
sold on
sim?
Iron Man. Not sold on Iron Man, but Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing dating sim would actually be a good idea.
I'm not sold on motive. I don't know how else to say this. So then they can impress, right? I can't get excited about them yet. So that's basically where we're at. And do I think we could be getting saturated? Yes, but I mean, do we think Gotham Knights is going to blow the roof off?
No. But that's kind of my point. Like, mentally, sorry, Dan, but mentally, think of the difference in the community as how do people think of Gotham Knights versus if it was an Arkham game with Batman. And that's kind of what I'm referencing, right? Is that Batman draws so much more level of attention, as does Spider-Man and a few others, whereas Gotham Knights, we're like,
there are.
But I think a lot of people were in conceptually for Gotham Knights until they showed the thing.
Well, that's a whole nother discussion.
There's that, but I also think that just because you have an IP doesn't mean you're gonna sell well. I think because you have an IP, people are gonna judge your game even more harshly if it doesn't meet their imaginary expectations based on what that type of game is supposed to be. And you see that it comes back to bite a lot of companies. I mean, we still don't have a good Superman game. Yeah.
Square Enix, every press release, right? Guardians of the Galaxy, my #1 game of the year, much beloved by those that give it a chance. You still have Square Enix is like, we didn't sell enough of that, did we? Okay. Exactly. I mean, maybe we don't set our expectations at 20.
Although they say that about every single game, so
they do.
They do.
Really do.
Yeah. Their motto is, "We wish we would have sold more." That's clear.
It didn't hit our 15 million internals. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe you're bad at goal setting.
Something to look at.
Yeah. Maybe you talk
it's funny you say that, Travis, because this is a sidetrack, but I was watching HCS, the Halo Championship Series, and one of the coaches said, we couldn't identify any weaknesses. And one of the players, like the old pro players, was like, then your weakness is being able to identify your weaknesses.
Correct. Yeah.
Because you have some,
Yeah.
Anyway, Dan, I'm
sorry. I was going to say every Square Enix press release is we undersold our product, and every Nintendo press release is we sued somebody for infringing our trademark. That is the press. If you're on the beat, the journalism beat, you get those emails weekly. So it's very fun.
You're not lying. Dan, I'm sorry. I cut you off a few minutes ago.
No, you're fine. They're just going to be, I know that, to your point of, the B list guys, I'm a humongous fan of Lobo from DC.
Yeah.
And really that's, and I think he really lends himself to a good game. What that game is, I have no idea. We've got
gray guy, black long hair.
Yeah,
that's all I got. Right. Is that him?
Yeah, it's Lobo.
That's him.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's
looks like a metal rocker from the 80s.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking that's what in my head, like from Inside Out, the memory ball comes up and it's like kind of black and white dude with rocker hair.
Right, but then but you're also
what's happening right now.
You're right, Hogue. Like the genre thing is a huge component of it too, because I have like Midnight Suns is coming, right? It doesn't look like anything to me.
It's a card
I'm
game.
Gonna go right. I'm gonna look at it. I'm like, man, I really want to play this. But like, I love Marvel Ultimate Alliance too. So there's I'm more of the actiony kind of beat 'em up kind of thing. That's more my zone. I don't know what Midnight Suns is gonna be. I'll probably check it out or wait for.
I'm convinced
else to.
Take-Two has no idea what it is.
Yeah, that might be true. Yeah,
Or at least their marketing team doesn't.
100%. I don't know, man. I think there's always all this potential. We've got there's so many, and this is it was what struck me is like you don't like those games, right? Like that follow the story of the movie, or I'm the same way, which I think is why I hated Lego Star Wars. It's just it's.
No, I mean, it's wrong, but it's well argued. That's a good point.
No, it's but when you play it, it's like playing Star Wars, but you get less of it. Like they kind of take out parts.
You get jokes. It's all jokes. It's all jokes.
You do get a lot of jokes, and in this one, I mean, if we're talking about Skywalker Saga, it's like 90% of the game is outside the movies.
True. Correct.
Yeah, 100%. I would like to see some more of that too. Like we got Jedi Fallen Order. I like that game. I thought it was great. But really before that, it's not. There's not a whole lot. You go back to like Revenge of the Sith on like, the Xbox.
Everyone still references Knights of the Old Republic, which is 20 years old.
Right. Completely separate from everything, that was out at the time as far as, what most of the people like. And it was amazing. And it told a great story. So it's, man, I mean, there's so much potential. Point.
Yeah. It sounds to me like this is a gray area. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. And,
pretty much like all game development.
That's what people really like out of their podcasts. Well, at the end of this discussion, some of it's good, some of it's bad, probably get a little saturated, maybe not get enough in some areas. Back to you, Bob.
Back to you. Yep. There you go. Sorry, I wish there were drama here, but it seems like it's all going fine. I don't know what to tell you guys. This
is why you tune in every week.
Midnight Suns is I think is an excellent. We've got Gotham Knights, we got Midnight Suns, both doing weird things without their primary intellectual property sales point. It'll be interesting to watch those games.
It's good news.
I
just hope Midnight Suns is good, because if it's bad, they're going to say
Midnight Suns will be good.
They're going to say, well, it's because it was a card game, and I'm going to go, no, don't do.
You're probably
Well, they might dismiss it for being a card game. It will be good.
My theory, Hogue, is that game is good, and that the publisher simply has no idea how to market it, and they're doing exactly what Guardians of the Galaxy did. They're just like butchering the delivery of the game, and then when it gets here, we're going to be like, oh, it was good. They just were bad at.
No, I think it's got every shot of being a cult classic type game. I mean, I trust that design team. It's just that. The marketing, I agree with you entirely. It's like, we're going to sell it like you are going to have so many disappointed people with what you have elected to do with your trailers and your animation and things. And that's going to be reflected not just in the populace, but at least in some reviewers, right? Probably not the big reviewers, but a lot of people count to Metacritic and OpenCritic or wherever else you're finding numbers at this point in time. And there are folks that are looking at freaking animated Wolverine ripping guts out under the full moon and howling or whatever the hell they're doing in the animation. And then they're going to be play slash.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be like, what didn't want board game. That's going to be the review.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think this is where, Hogue, I will challenge you on a point you made earlier in the podcast and say this is where the Dio Field naming convention is a virtue, is a strength, because you name your product for the people who know. You see a game called Dio Field Chronicle and you go, oh, I know what I'm getting when I buy this game. And the people who don't get it, they read the title and they go, I have no idea what that is, and they move on. So you make sure that you hit your target market with a weird name. And the problem with yeah, go ahead.
So I really, really, really like Dio Field, but it's hilarious because they named their areas like North Field, Central Field, South Field, West Field, East Field on the island of Dio Field, which is going to surprise you, but it just means God Field, God Island, and it's like, okay, but you're absolutely right. It's you throw the word Chronicle, you're like, all right, it's Japanese, all right,
for sure.
You got that. And then you put like a light map in the background with maybe some coloration. And it's like, okay, we know. But much like Midnight Suns, as I hope it to be, Dio Field Chronicle feels to me exactly like in 5 years when 4 people are fired for trying to get this through Square Enix, and Square Enix absolves itself of all responsibility for this game. In 5 years, there's going to be some video from some YouTuber that's going to be like, it's a cult classic, actually. Like that. This is the path of Dio Field Chronicle.
If they would have just called the game Marvel Tactics and marketed it as a tactics game, actually, it would be a completely different story. It would be
think you're
such a
wrong.
different story. Yeah, I just
You mean
anyway.
Midnight Suns, not Dio Field.
Midnight-
Chronicles. There would be
yeah.
some
Midnight
false
Suns.
advertising
Midnight
there.
Suns. If they would have called it Marvel, yeah, that would have been weird if Dio Field called it Marvel.
Because
Tactics.
you're
I feel
right.
like
They're-
that
it's
would be-
like
that
they're
would be a
trying to sell
lawsuit.
this game as an action. To your guys' point, I completely agree with you. They're selling it like
Every
an action game.
trailer.
Yeah,
Rawr.
I mean, there are literally people I've seen who don't even know it's a card game, which is a problem. And I think to Travis's point, if you would have just bought into the fact that it's a card game and make sure the damn game is good, then
Yeah.
it would have had its own audience, and it
The
may
funny
still
part
get
is
that
it's not
audience.
strictly a card game, right?
Yeah.
This is what Take-Two's really struggling with, which is that it is an XCOM game where they're adding variables
They
and
also don't know how
randomness
to
to the
market.
options that you have. So it's depicted as cards. It could have been depicted as anything, but like
Yeah.
the marketing department is like, guys, what are you? What? What? So they went with sell it as dark on the streets, Wolverine, Captain America. They love yellow. You love yellow. Let's fight some zombies.
If you don't love yellow, you're gonna love yellow.
That's right. Everybody
So,
knows
no, I-
Midnight Sun is yellow. That's
but it's
part
going
of
to
it.
be good. Like that, the design team behind that game is strong for making strategy games. It will be good. I think so many people are going to be disappointed. Like this is the exact wrong way to market.
Let me get a couple comments real quick. So first of all, I got to give a big shout out to Mr. Bert Signs in the house. Bert, Travis Hogue, you may not even know or remember. Bert's a good friend of mine in real life, but he is who I started the Bitcast with in 2017. So the
nice.
original Bitcast were just me and Bert alone, not knowing what the hell
Is it
we
called
were doing.
Bertcast?
It was not.
Probably would have been a better name than Bitcast, but we've moved on at this point. So shout out to Bert. Good morning, man. And then I also want to get the super chat we got from Kern Grisdale.
Yeah, man. Thank you for the $1.79
Pound 79.
pounds. Okay, I love a good, maybe even a great Superman game.
I'd
And
settle
I
for
would-
good.
Have you
Yeah,
played the
I-
N64?
Well, I saved this one because it often comes up, right? It always comes up of why do we not have a good Superman game? Because Superman's one of the most popular superheroes,
Superman
like we were
sucks.
saying. And as a lot of people have said and kind of debated on, it's because they don't really know how to make a good Superman game because you have to have the flying, and he's basically invincible and does everything. So
You give everybody kryptonite weapons. They found them at the
And
bottom of the
he's
ocean
also-
before
Yeah, I
the
mean,
game
it's so
started. I don't know
He's
why
also a
that's
bad hero.
Yeah, he's not good.
What?
He's the worst.
sucks.
He's like the
DC
paladin.
Sucks.
What?
Who cares?
Superman?
Don't make a
Terrible.
game. Whatever. Just leave him.
He's-
Leave him
he's
alone.
How is
Interesting.
Superman a bad hero? He's the paladin of heroes. He's
Yeah, he's
What?
boring.
He's a
Exactly.
Boy Scout.
Yeah,
He's a
that's
Boy
basically
Scout
all
with
he
no
is.
vulnerabilities. He's supposed to be a metaphor for, I think, immigrants, and it doesn't really work because he's like all
Super
powerful.
white.
Just-
Yeah, and
yeah,
super
it's
powerful.
stupid.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
exactly.
First of all, I love this. So please carry
There you
on.
go.
Second of
Please.
all, I do kind of agree with Hogan that he's the brining. What? He's
Brining.
grinding. That's
Sorry.
Aquaman.
He's the bright, shining kind of example of what a superhero should be, right? He's the good guy. He's the defends everyone. He's the that. I know it's kind of cliche, maybe, and kind of he's all things to everyone, but I mean, he's
uninteresting.
Superman.
He's your pally. I think it says something about our society that we're so much more enamored with the traumatized vigilante.
I also don't like
quasi-murderer,
that.
often
I also
murderer.
don't like that.
No, he's the
Peter
other end of
Parker's
the
my boy.
spectrum.
He's nice. He's interesting. Peter Parker.
Peter Parker, you said?
He's better.
Spider-Man is my
Parker.
favorite of the storylines. Captain America is my favorite in the MCU, probably. You can
See,
I use
that's a better example. Captain America is the same type of character, but he's
Yes, he
interesting.
is.
He's interesting. He's better than Superman.
Well,
You want to make a good Superman game? Developers, here you go. I know how to do it. Make
Oh,
a
you're gonna
license-
solve this right now.
I'm gonna
Let's
solve
go.
it.
millions of
license-
dollars right here. He's
make
giving
a-
it away.
make
for
a-
free.
Make a licensed The Boys game. You play as Homelander. It's a GTA-like sandbox game where you just murder people all day. There you go.
Speaking of,
Done.
I'm
Done.
in for a boys game. Give me a
There you
dark
go.
R-rated
Done.
boys
Hard
game.
no.
Done.
Hard out.
It'll sell. It's a great idea. There you go. Homelander.
Hard out.
Wow.
Well, funny enough, there's a lot of comments on this one. So Tal points out that Injustice does Superman very well. It's a little different type of game, obviously.
Because they make him bad. That's the only way you
Well-
make Superman interesting. You make him a communist. You make him evil. That's the only way he's interesting. That's the only
Oh,
way.
yes.
Anyway,
That's-
sorry.
No, you're fine. That's
Super
kind of where I was going. A couple other people said the same. So you're in that arena. So
There you go.
No, it's great, man. He's not good. You know what they did? In that Matrix
Look at
demo drop, they actually put in. Somebody modded in a Superman with that new Matrix demo, that Unreal 5 engines thing.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and that was probably as good as it was going to get. No enemies, just flying around the city. Running into stuff. It was really, it was very, very simple. But I mean, that's all you really can do. What are you going to have him do? Like, oh, there's some bank robbers. Oh, I'm coming down. Here I come. And then just laser eyes him. And he's not that guy. He's overpowered and boring. That's basically what he is. And all of a sudden, everybody's got kryptonite. I mean, that's the only way you can hurt the guy. I mean, or black out the sun. I guess it's just God. He's the worst. The worst. The worst.
Anyway, I would just I've seen this idea thrown around a bit to get us back on topic maybe a little bit. I really want to see a Punisher game, and a lot of people have recommended Coalition for that, and I'm in. You've sold me. Like, I'm not big on comic games, but give me a Punisher game made by Coalition. I'm in. Nice, gritty, visceral. Let me kill some criminals. I'm good. And he's human. He's just a guy.
How big is the Punisher in this game?
I was gonna say, do we have to roadie run between waist high cover?
Yeah, is he like this big square man with like way too much meat?
Don't take this to Gears. Don't do it. I'm wearing the very famous and popular Gears top hat.
See, honestly, I'd give Punisher to like Remedy.
Remedy?
Exactly. That's what I was.
That's supernatural though. Punisher's not supernatural.
No. What? No, most of Remedy. Forget Control. Control is ass. Remedy is mostly not supernatural.
Max Payne.
Oh, yeah, Max Payne's a good example. But then give it to Rockstar, not Remedy.
Rockstar owns the IP, not the developers.
Whoa! Part 3.
Whoa!
As long as it's the John Barenthal Punisher.
Stop! You stop it right now. I'm muting you. I'm muting you.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
The Netflix show, John Barenthal.
No, I didn't watch any of the Netflix stuff past like Daredevil season 1.
Yeah, it's probably a good call.
I am famously not a fan of John Bernthal's Punisher, which is why Dan's making fun of it right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what
he's
not.
The guy that plays Crossbones in the MCU should be the Punisher.
# not my Punisher. Yeah. All right.
Who's the first Punisher? The original Punisher movie. I like that guy.
The one with John Travolta.
John Travolta was the bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you're thinking of
that guy was good.
No. Dolph
You're not advocating for John Krasinski as Punisher now.
No, he's talking about no. God.
His name's
Thomas Jane. Thank you guys.
Yeah, I'll get those two guys mixed
up. That guy was good. He should do it.
Thomas Jane, excellent on The Expanse. Also funny on radio interviews because he shows up completely drunk.
You're right. Expanse, great show.
One of the funniest radio interviews I ever listened to going to work was Thomas Jane clearly not ready for his interview and totally wasted.
Just so you guys know, I was right. It was Dolph.
No, Dolph was the Punisher movie like way back when. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's not. Let's give credit where credit's due, man.
Yeah. Well, at least I've said this a million times, and I forget someone will know the actor from Punisher Warzone, but I've said Punisher's supposed to be a big, intimidating guy.
Punisher Warzone sucks. Oh my god, that movie,
fantastic.
I really
is a nightmare.
Underqualified to talk Punisher.
Yeah.
Do you like that movie? Actually, that movie's look at Ains's face. That movie's so bad. Is that the one with Jigsaw or what's his name?
Oh man, you made me break character by saying Jigsaw, but that was good.
Yeah.
It's not a great movie, but it's great because it represented Punisher Warzone, which was a separate Punisher comic series, because he just obliterates everything.
I thought you were talking about the movie. I was about to be
I am talking about the movie, but it represents what was done in Punisher Warzone comics. Yeah.
Whew.
So anyway,
so he's pretty good in Expanse, yeah.
So all right, there we go. There's our thoughts on comic-based games. We'll see how this continues to evolve in the coming years. We'll see if all these big games that we mentioned that come out are good. We've got, like we said, the Iron Man, the Cap game, the Black Panther game. We've got Wonder Woman. I mean, there's a lot of big names kind of IPs.
Do we have a Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman by Monolith, who made Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, all right.
Which I think is going to kick ass, personally.
Yeah. So we'll see.
So Monolith's last game is
Nailed
Shadow
it.
of War. Is that right?
Yeah, Monolith makes
that's right.
exclusively like licensed games, so that's not even really a change. For
And
them.
they're a talented studio. They've made
They are.
some good stuff. So
The Shadow
I'll say
games
They
are
know how to work
cool.
with IPs, and they know how to tell original stories with existing IPs, which is cool.
I wouldn't give
So.
Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War much credit on the story front.
Shadow of, well, it depends how much you've read of the Silmarillion, but there's a lot of good content in there if you are a Tolkien nerd, as I want to be.
I have read
As I am want to be.
Silmarillion, but I have to say, as Amazon is so aptly giving us an example of, just having world building tidbits is not a good story make.
Yeah, it's probably true.
yeah, I can get on board.
Yeah,
with that.
probably true. I mean, here's the thing. I've been liking the Lord of the Rings things because it's me watching it, and then every 10 minutes I get to pause it and go. So in the first days, and I just get to talk about.
I was actually just involved in a conversation like this as we flew into Numenor, and my daughter's like, "Why is this cool?" It's like, "All right, so let's talk about the Numenorians," and spin around in my chair, and it's like, okay, but like, yeah, Rings of Power isn't the worst thing I've ever seen. It is also not a story, as best I can tell.
I'll give it more time. I'm really liking it. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep saying we'll have to see what it builds towards, but we are 5 episodes in?
I think it's building towards like the Last Alliance 5 years from now.
Yeah. Production value is insane. I will say
that. It is insane.
I not to keep us off topic, but the funny thing is I'm really liking the Friday like PG fantasy followed by the Sunday R-rated fantasy with House of the Dragon. Like I'm liking this combo every week, man. It's
great. I still have a very love-hate relationship with the Ice and Fire world, but I'm liking that. It's a good combo.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're both amazing. I'm just saying I like the combo of entertainment. That's all.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Episode 4 was a bit much for me. I'm not gonna lie.
On the grossness scale.
On the you're doing this for no other reason than your HBO and it's not adding to the story type.
Yeah, I would concur with that. Ring of Power is better.
By the way, from what I read, someone correct me if I'm wrong here, but House of the Dragon, like the Halo TV series, has new showrunners for season 2. So new writers.
Well, kind of. I did an episode, as you know, on my channel on this.
I didn't watch that one, Hogue.
I do the as you know. I do this with my wife too. So it looks like they roped in. They roped in one of the guys that really didn't want to do it to add cachet to the launch of the show, and it looks like they had if not a contractual, a tacit understanding of what he would be doing, and he walked away as it launched. And then they gave him a first look contract. And so I just talked about it and said, that was a deal. That was a deal.
Okay. That's good to know. Good to know. So we'll see.
Yes, Matt Smith is carrying that show so hard. He is by far the most and having the most fun.
I will say that both shows are I'm appreciating how much they are referencing their original source material, which doesn't have all the details you'd want to work with, but they're really making the most of it. So it's kind of nice. As you guys know, I'm not a TV guy, but I'm keeping up with.
I'll come back to Rings of Power. The middle of episode 4 turned me off so much. I was like, I'll come back.
Rings of Power, House of Dragon.
House of Dragon. I'm sorry, I said the wrong one.
Yeah.
Episode 4 of Rings of Power did not offend me. It just speeded along a little fast.
I don't have it. I think maybe that's why I'm enjoying it more. Sometimes if you're less invested, you enjoy it more. Like I noticed that with the Halo TV show, the people not like me who are like diehard Halo seem to like, so it's okay. And me, I'm like, like they screwed a lot of things up here. But because I'm not invested, I just like that we're getting big budget production value shows, fantasy shows. I'm enjoying them.
Amazon put money on the table.
A lot of money.
It shows though. It shows.
It does. Yeah. All right, guys. A couple of things I wanted to talk on today. So this one is, I want to get your guys' thought on this because I thought this was kind of wild. So this week, Logitech comes out in collaboration with Xbox, and they announced this G CLOUD. That's the name of it. Handheld. Excuse me. Retails for $349 in the US. It is $299 on sale at launch for some undetermined period. They didn't say. But $349, it has it's basically kind of like a portable Switch that is actually an Android tablet. It has no dedicated GPU. It's using like a what you would find in an Android, like a higher end phone or not even a higher end phone, but a phone or a tablet. It is set up purely for cloud gaming. So it comes pre-installed with the Xbox Cloud Gaming app, but it is obviously compatible with the other ones like GeForce Now, or if you want to PS Now, whatever you want to connect to basically over internet. And it can also use like Android apps. So if you want to install apps on it, you can do that too to some degree. It's got a 1080p screen, supposedly 12-hour battery life. It looks like a Switch, pretty much like a curved Switch to a degree. But I was a little confused on this one. I think I said on Twitter that who is this for? Because it's $350, which is not, it's not a small amount of money. It's more, I know this is a console, but it's more than a Series S, for God's sakes. And it has no local playability option, right? You can't play anything locally on it. It's cloud only, which means basically if you have like a Kishi or a Backbone or like the GameSir thing I reviewed for a newer phone that is a powerful phone or a decent screen, probably even a better screen than this tablet, for $100, you can do everything this tablet can do with your phone already. The only thing it seems to do is give you good battery life and have more dedicated controls. But again, I'm a little confused as to who's buying this for $350, guys. Am I alone?
Not me. I'm not buying it.
I think
But what I don't understand, like, you have to basically be connected to Wi-Fi.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So
there's no local option.
So basically, it has less than what my phone has. Because I can connect to a mobile network anytime I want to. So yeah, so you're going to put out a cloud gaming that you basically have to be somewhere with some Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah,
I missed this honestly.
Okay,
because this is stupid, and ridiculous. I don't know who this is for. Like the people that buy like the $100 phones at Verizon that really want to take their, I don't know. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I didn't even know this was a thing.
It's a lot of the commentary I got on Twitter was I was really interested in this at like $199 until when they said $349, it was like, what? No. Why?
That's terrible. I'm not a big fan of cloud gaming anyway. So this.
Well, the other
honestly, I think Dan hit it. I think I tweeted out. I'd love to see the business marketing plan and what they, you've seen a business plan before, folks. It has a section that says, here is what the market is for this. Here's how we address that market. And here is, generally speaking, here's our best case scenario. If this takes off, this is what this market that we're going to service looks like. And my bet is this marketing plan says cloud gaming is huge. And we have so much of this investment. And also we probably got a little bit of money from Microsoft. And we're putting this out there and we're going to make people so happy. And it's like, guys, you don't have cell coverage, which is insane for this kind of product. You're selling it at more than the Switch and $50 shy of the Steam Deck. What are you doing? And all I ever got in response, there are some true believers on this thing. They're like, well, it's got all this battery life. One, whenever you make battery life claims, you got to prove it to me. So let's wait till they actually show it in action. But two, yeah, okay, you have all this battery life when you have to be at home, presumably near an outlet. So, like, what are you talking about? The Steam Deck works perfectly fine plugged in, by the way. If you're so inclined to do it, use it that way. So,
and it does.
No, this is one of those instances where I would describe this as a product very much in search of a market that would have exactly those same arguments put in front of it by a venture capitalist, an institutional capitalist, or how the folks on Shark Tank. Who is buying this and not a Switch? Or in the opposite direction, who is buying this and not a Steam Deck? Talk to me.
That's what I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Hogue. What I was going to say is that the Steam Deck does cloud game. You can connect to Xbox Cloud Gaming on your Steam Deck, and this is $50 cheaper than your base Steam Deck, which is a much more advanced device than this. And this is the same price as a Switch or a Switch OLED, as a matter of fact, at $349 as well. Which, of course, with a Switch, you not only get native kind of compatibility with games, but you get all of Nintendo's library as well. It can't do the cloud gaming the same way, but that's a different conversation. But you have other options up or down that seem to be better than this by quite a long shot. So, Travis, you look like you want to counter in some way.
Yeah, hit us.
I do not want to counter really. I just wanted to say that this could have been successful if they went with like the Chromebook strategy of like, no hardware, all software, $99 price tag,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
get it out the door and blow people's mind with like the ease of use and how little you need hardware in it. They didn't do that, and now it'll share the same fate as the Soldier Boy console. Remember that? Remember Soldier Boy? Soldier Boy?
He
Yeah,
made
Soldier Boy
multiple
console.
consoles, didn't he? And didn't he get like
I think-
copyright infringed or something
Yeah,
happened?
I think he just slapped his name on an existing console and got it. Yeah, I don't know the full story.
Anyway.
But yeah.
That's literally what's so important about the business plan, right? That's why the coach or the investor or whatever tells you to go back and figure out how you get the resources in there and you get the stuff in there. Because like the folks that were backing this, I mean, there was one tweet out from like Jez, and he's he's doing his thing at Windows Central and whatnot, but he's like, we got to remember, they don't make money off of the store like
That's
Steam
what
does.
Lucius and GameFire just said in the chat as well.
Yeah,
yes.
and I got to be honest. Okay, folks, I do not care. I am the consumer.
Right.
Okay. You propose a value to me, and then I ascribe how much of the wealth that I have created doing other things I wish to give to you for that value. That has to match up. If it doesn't work, you go back to the drawing board. If you wind up with $350 on this thing, you say, no. I mean, like that's done at the white paper level. And they just went through with it. Now, I suspect it's subsidized by Microsoft based on the way that this was announced. But it's not my problem. And folks, you're going to get the chance when it isn't selling and it's in inventory to go buy it at the price you like, would be my guess. It won't be supported, but my guess is that this is a failure. And it's a proof of concept at minimum, and maybe they pursue it past that. But this has all the hallmarks of something that wasn't properly vetted or that they're getting other sources of income from.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like the weird thing I found here. I agree with everything you said, by the way. But the weird thing here is Logitech is not a small company. They're not a new company. They've been around a long time. They know what this game is. No, but I mean they have someone has to know this. I think is the point I'm making, right? They sell devices and accessories, millions of them annually. Like they have to know that this is not logically priced at $349.
I suspect that early access price is part of that. They want you to be reporting on 300 and not 350.
I report the MSRP.
Yeah, no, I get you, and everybody did. But but that was a hand wave attempt at
more like the MSRIP. Am I right?
The manufacturers suggested rest in peace. Look, if I was stocking a mom and pop electronics store, I wouldn't even stock the damn thing. You don't have a proposition to give me at all.
No, this is a weird one to me. Seems like chat seems to agree. I haven't seen anyone in the chat kind of debate with us on this. I think everyone's in agreement that this is just a weird thing. But I wanted to see if I was pretty sure I was in the right on this one in the sense of not understanding it. So,
but I agree with Travis. It's a halfway house, right? Like if you figure out, hey, all I want you to do is stream video at low latency. Like that is all I want you to do. I want a monitor, I want it strapped to a controller, and I want it to stream video. Then I think you could start to get that number down to where you say you can play frickin' what do you guys like? You guys like Resident Evil Village? You can play frickin' Resident Evil Village on this thing, and it cost you, a Benjamin, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the play.
Yeah, and it's we've covered it. Don't have to keep on it. So, we'll see what this thing is priced 6 months from now. It won't be $349.
It'll be priced at $400 on eBay. Rare copy,
video game collectible.
Collectible.
If you go far enough, you'll become the Atari Lynx.
Oh, I love my Lynx. Damn. I had a Lynx 2. When they revised it and made it.
I didn't know that existed, Ains. I can't.
Oh lie. Yeah. So the original Lynx was the big gray one, right? And they made a Lynx 2, which made it a lot nicer. It was a little smaller. It was better buttons, better controls, better screen, all that. And they tried to rejuvenate it, but I had a Lynx with a bunch of games. Worth money now. To Travis's point, worth money now on eBay if you have them.
The Hogue House version.
Buy your copies and get those eBay accounts ready, everyone.
That's the thing. There's no copies. There's no games.
There's right? Play on it.
Yeah, there's nothing to, you're connecting to the games you already
Get
own.
ready for those servers to not work.
The Hogue House version of the completely ill-advised mobile system was the TurboGrafx 16 mobile.
Dude, that thing's worth it. It's called the Turbo Duo.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I couldn't remember the name of it. I know it. What it did was it took batteries. It took them out to the woodshed and destroyed them in no time at all.
If I remember correctly, it took 8 double A's, and it lasted like an hour and a half.
Process of putting them all in, but it took the cards of the TurboGrafx, which was the cool part.
Yep.
So you guys speaking real words?
Yeah. Yeah. See, you're going back into what I grew up with now.
I love the TurboGrafx. TurboGrafx introduced me to East, introduced me to full motion video games, introduced me to a whole bunch of stuff that I really, really love.
You love your FMV.
I do love my FMV.
That game, Turbo Express is what King Bill says in the chat. Good call. Worth a lot of money today as well if you have one, especially.
I'll tell Papa Hogue. It ain't mine.
Get it from him. All right, so I wanted to touch on this real quick. Actually, a couple live service games I wanted to touch on to get your guys' thoughts because I like to talk about this with you guys. Now,
live
this one
service?
obviously, this will wake Travis up. This one is obviously close to my heart because it's related to Halo. So there was an interview this week with VentureBeat talking to Certain Affinity, which was Paul Sams, who is now president and COO, along with Max Hoberman, who is famously the founder and CEO of Certain Affinity. And they were talking about basically what the studio's been working on as they celebrate their 15-year anniversary. And if you're not aware of Certain Affinity, they are almost like a support studio. They work on a lot of big name games in support fashion. They've worked on most of the Halos. Max Hoberman comes from Bungie in the Halo 2 and 3 days. Hoberman, yeah.
You're saying Hogerman. I was like, is this like a
Hogerman?
This is like a Transformer version of Hogue?
They worked on Halo Infinite. They worked on Call of Duty. They work on a bunch of different games, right? So the reason that this kind of blew up a little more than a normal interview is that they said that they're working on 3 projects right now. The biggest of which is the Halo Tatanka mode, which is this additional kind of battle royale thing that's been sitting out there. They have almost 100 developers from their group working on it in collaboration with 343. And basically a lot of leaks came out from, I'm going to call out Bathrobe Spartan, who is a guy on Twitter who talks a lot of Halo behind the scenes. And he had a lot of info.
He opened up the bathrobe, huh?
Opened up the bathrobe. Jesus. So the leaks I just wanted to touch on for listeners is that so this is Halo's Battle Royale. It's being tested with up to 100 players. It does take place on a part of the Zeta Halo ring, all things we kind of expected. Right now, it's being tuned for 60 players, which would be more like Apex Legends rather than like a Warzone or PUBG. You can play it in single, duo, trio, or squad modes, so 1 through 4 players. Weaponry includes all of your basic Halo weapons along with the campaign variants, which we expected. So if you're not familiar with that, there's like lore-based weapons in Halo that are more powerful than their normal ones from the campaign. Those are in there. But they said there's some variations here. We'll have a traditional kind of Slayer mode, which will just be like your normal go out and kill everyone else and win. But it's also going to have more of a objective focus traditionally, where it's going to be like a lot of mini games happening within the ring simultaneously. So for instance, like there may be a match of something over here and you can kind of roam around and jump into these, and that's how you earn points. And the points is what allows you to upgrade your weaponry, buy vehicles, do other things, which will then obviously catapult you to being stronger than the rest of the people. So it sounds pretty interesting. You can find these leaks, by the way, on, like I said, look up Bathrobe Spartan. A lot of people are talking about these. If you just look up Halo Battle Royale on Twitter, I'm sure you'll find it. But I wanted to ask you guys really around and just get your thoughts, because I know none of the 3 of you are really kind of hardcore Halo players or regular players. Yeah. Apex is thriving right now. Most popular it's ever been, one of the most played games in the world right now. Fortnite is number 1. I said it should just be number 1 forever because it's coming off that mantle. We can just consider everything else number 2 and below at this point. Warzone 2.0 is coming out in November. We've talked about that, how big that's going to be. It's going to be, trust me, it's going to be massive. So what I wanted to ask you guys, just your quick thoughts on how does this succeed? I guess is a very broad question, but with Halo still working to regain its composure after the fumbled live service aspects we've covered, introducing a separate standalone free-to-play battle royale mode is what a lot of people in the Halo community are asking for to go along with the standard experience. But there's a lot of that now, right? And these players are becoming spread across different things. There's obviously other games I didn't mention too. How does this succeed? How does this do something that is either unique or polished enough to where it retains its user base and grows the Halo user base? You have any thoughts on it?
I think it'll be fine. I mean, I after these leaks came out, I sort of assumed that this is what 343 has been spending all of its live service development time doing, right? Like, this is the content drop where they're like, oh, okay, you guys were working on stuff all this time. That's why we didn't hear from you for a year or whatever. And it's probably not what a lot of core players that just like to play arena-based shooters and standard Halo PvP are working on want. They probably don't want something like this. Like, I certainly am sort of like, okay, another battle royale game. But I honestly, you can play more than one game. People can hop onto Apex and play a few matches, and then when they get bored, hop onto Halo Infinite and play that battle royale mode or whatever. So I think it'll be fine. As to what they need to do to succeed, I have no idea, man. I don't know. I mean, I know, Ames, you were sort of bullish on Halo having a battle royale mode, and I've always sort of been kind of just tepid about it. I'm like, whatever. But maybe I'm not the right guy to ask. I like battle royales. I also tend to get over them pretty quickly. I prefer arena shooters like Halo's core combat is, and so
I think it's fair to say that you'd be in the minority in that, though, in the community.
Probably. I mean, but maybe not in the minority of Halo players. Halo players do like the thing that they like, but I think it'll have a broader appeal. It'll probably ruffle the feathers of people who treasure Halo as one of the last true competitive arena shooters on console. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll get a lot of people to download Halo Infinite.
Yeah, so your last comment there, not the download, but around arena shooters is what I want to segue into on the next topic. But first, just, if Hogue or Dan want to comment, do you I'm sure you guys don't really care, but from an outside outside perspective, when you look at like these hugely popular games, and whether we like it or not, whether anyone likes it or not, when you look at player base and you look at stream rankings, right? Fortnite, Apex, Warzone are kings. I mean, they're dominating the industry right now. So, that's.
Well, I will say this: I will disagree slightly.
Okay.
With one thing that Travis said, which is that yes, you can of course play multiple games, but
do I get to use this?
Well, we'll see. See. It's genteel right now. But one, the battle royales tend to be enormous. And some people are constrained by hard drive space, especially when we start talking about the consoles. So it doesn't always make sense to have a bunch of them on there. Two, they are very much organized around making sure that you don't want to leave. Right? We talk about battle passes. We talk about the way that these things work. But if you're into a Fortnite season and you're not hello, other Hogues that love Fortnite and it's all they play, and you're not a crazy person, then chances are that's the game you're going to have to play if you want to get to the end of your battle pass or whatever. That they're trying to be scientifically in there so that it's all that you want to play to feel progress. Now, Halo has had its issues with progress, and who knows what the progress will look like on this thing when it's out. Yeah. But I do think that, at least for me personally, and that's all I can speak to on this, I can basically play one live service game at a time. Because otherwise I feel like I'm wasting my time, or I'm getting less out of both. And so I tend to lean towards Fortnite, but also I might just be a bad commenter on this, because I will tell you right now, I don't have any live service games that I'm either playing, and there might not be any that are downloaded. I might have Destiny still on there, but I'm not working through a season of anything except Dreamlight Valley, which I don't think counts for purposes of this particular conversation.
I think it does, but yeah, I think you're correct that you are not the target market for this, and I think most people who are into battle royales and stuff, they balance a few, because all my friends that are the core gamers, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna play Apex. All right, we lost. Let's go and play Naraka Blade Point, and then they log on to different battle royales, and it's the same loop to me. I'm like,
data.
y'all are crazy, but people who play live service games, they just like to, mix it
No,
up.
you're
Yeah.
describing me to a T. I mean, I just told you guys I've been playing Halo and Apex and what's the other game I just said? I was playing PUBG recently. I mean, yeah, I do that.
I will yield to the anecdotes on this stuff because all I can speak to is my experience. And yeah, I don't generally get enough. I don't get enough of a buzz out of those, so I'm not playing them too often. And that's.
Yeah, very fair. Yeah, I just figured I like having these conversations with you guys because, sometimes you get so ingrained in your circle and your community and the people you talk to day to day, right? Which for me is Halo. I mean, I live and breathe it, right? So when I talk about something like this, I like asking you guys because I know Travis knows Halo, but you don't play it every day like I do. And I know
anymore.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And I know that Hogue and Dan don't care at all. So I just like getting a different perspective. That's all.
No, and I can see it having a place in the market. Certainly, you're not going to confuse a Warzone experience with a Halo experience, presuming that they keep the TTK and stuff like that relatively intact. So I think there can be a market for it. Halo wasn't built that way when it came up with its original design. So it's like, I honestly don't know how it'll feel as a game. It's probably something I'd be curious about and check out. But I also say this, right? I think Fortnite's massive success, and nobody talks about it too much, is not in its gameplay. It's not in its island. It's in having artists that make things people want to buy or that want to participate in their battle pass. And I have never been enthused by anything I've ever seen in Warzone or Halo or whatnot. So even if I like those games, the gameplay isn't doing enough for me if I can't become a hot dog man or have a giant banana suit or whatever. And that sounds silly, but their artists are so much better for what I'm looking for. Then like so much of that lives there than the game to me.
You are
talking about these live services.
I think you're spot on, and I will shout out my good friend and Bitcast Patriot here, Dr. Mo, who's been on with us, Mo Kwama, because he says the exact same thing, Hogue. It's that I'll give you a perfect example because I was just talking about this with him. So for me, I bought Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix in Fortnite. I have never used them because I've never played the game since. I literally logged in, bought them, and logged out. And Mo, who is a big Dragon Ball Z fan, right? Dragon Ball Z created a big stir, went and spent like $70 on that content. And I think he said, I'm not sure if he hasn't played it all or maybe played one match. But to your point, you've got the core user base that log in to play every day, right? But then you get this whole other community that just loves what they do with the content and the skins and the IP licensing and everything else. And it's just
I basically only play Fortnite as Paul Atreides. If you see a Paul Atreides out there, it might be me because I might be the only one. But yeah, that's part of the fun of Fortnite. You make Paul Atreides do the Korean cat dance, and my daughter comes in and says that I'm being disrespectful to the Atreides line. It is worth every dollar I spent.
Yeah, see, they've struck on gold there for sure, quite literally. Dan, I know battle royals aren't your thing. Competitive MP is not your thing. Anything to add that kind of Hogue and Travis didn't already touch on?
No, I think you guys are pretty much spot on. And somebody said it in the chat, and I've said this forever, you got to strike when the iron's hot. And there's room, like Hogue said, for all these games and, to have whatever take you want on it. But it's such a competitive market there. And you've got, like you said, the three, your top three, leaders that are not going to move, unless you can bring something either new or interesting to the table. And, now Halo has, enough support where they're, it'll make a dent somehow, maybe, but, it all depends, I mean, it's not going to be for me, I'm not going to play that stuff. When's the single player content coming out for Halo?
I think it was abandoned, Dan.
Yeah.
Abandoned.
I think it was.
No, they've literally talked about it. It's not abandoned. It's just
talk is cheap, as you well know.
Oh, I well know. I know. Yeah. But yeah, I won't go off on a Halo tangent. It's not abandoned.
I'm voting on abandoned.
I'm going to probably guess you're right. So, yeah, well.
All right. Well, I said I wanted to transition to another thing I wanted to talk about, which is kind of in a similar vein as Travis alluded to with his comment, which is I want to jump over to Overwatch 2. And the reason I say it's in a similar vein is because Overwatch 2 launches in a week and a half officially, October 4th. It's free to
Does it
We're
launch?
getting there.
Is it-
We're getting there.
Yeah.
No, no, it's a good point because I was like, oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah. October 4th it launches. It's free to play, as a lot of people said the first one should have been. Now it's set up very similarly to everything we've discussed many times with these games, right? It's free to play. They're introducing a couple new heroes. There's a few new maps. You can find all the details on the site, but it's got a battle pass. It's got a free path and a paid path. Obviously, you get a lot more interesting things on the paid path. But I think what is interesting to me is that Overwatch struck gold when it came out in 2016, I believe it was. Kind of
2016.
yeah, before the Battle Royale craze hit, right? This is before Fortnite became what it is and everything we just talked about in the space with Halo's jumping into. And what we've seen with Halo is that despite being a huge IP and having over 20 million players like that first week, right, it's really died down. And it's because a lot of the conversation we have in the Halo community is that arena competitive multiplayer is not what it used to be audience-wise. There's just so many options out there now, and Battle Royale is one of those in the options. And so we saw a lot of players jump into the beta on Overwatch 2. It, had a ton of players. It has a huge community. I'm not denying the Overwatch community. What I'm really interested to see, though, is what this looks like 6 months from now. Does Overwatch still has what it takes in this environment in 2022, 2023 to maintain that same level of player base, or has the market changed in the past 6-7 years? I'm very curious to see what happens there.
They'll be okay. And I the reason I say that is because I know lots of people that play Overwatch. The thing with Overwatch 2 is I think it's a mistake. I don't know why they're doing it this way, but I think that they're going to continue to have their player base without expanding it. Is my guess. It's a Destiny problem, actually. Destiny's really good at that. They're just like, oh, here's some more stuff for the people who already play and nothing for people who don't already play it. Maybe free to play will help boost those numbers, as it always does, because it's just, accessibility means more people will play it. But I think it's probably not going to move the needle, but it's going to keep the people who like to play Overwatch. And there's plenty of people like that. It's same with Destiny. Plenty of people like to play Destiny. Are they bringing in a whole lot of new Destiny players? I gotta believe there's no way that that's happening, but they're keeping their existing audience engaged. So I think it'll probably just be non-growth. Here's more stuff if you like playing Overwatch, and they sell a lot of microtransaction stuff on that. People buy. That does not have the problem that Hogue was talking about with Halo. I mean, people will buy stuff on that.
No, Overwatch is much more akin, in my opinion, to Apex, where you have identifiable characters and there's a lot of monetization around them. And if you like those characters, you're partaking.
Yeah, crushing it.
And Blizzard's always had strong art. I mean, I still think it's easier to sell third-person art, but they've always had strong art.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I have no feelings on Overwatch 2. I think it's essentially taking Overwatch free to play, and they put a 2 on it to save face.
If you read through the actual content, you're not far off. Yeah.
It really isn't.
It's basically 1.5 at best. But we'll see. I'm very curious. We'll keep an eye on it. Maybe we'll revisit that conversation a few months from now and see what what that looks like. But anyway, all right, boys. I think that is going to go ahead and wrap us up for today. And I can't believe they're saying this, but we're under 2 hours. We did it.
That's because we reserved.
Because you didn't talk about Andor.
Well, I heard Andor. I heard Andor was awful. Probably the worst thing to come out of Star Wars in years. Is that true?
Wrong.
I didn't even say that, and I'm the one that's usually the negative Nancy on this stuff.
Yeah.
No, my Andor summary is ridiculous production values, maybe the best it's ever been under Disney in terms of how it looks. Good. There are some that look like straight up filmmaking from like the 1980s that looks really, really good. And it has an inciting event, which is nice. First 15, 20 minutes, strong. And that's about the level of plot you're going to get into the last 10 or 15 minutes of the episode 3. It's stretched. It's stretched good.
It is. It's slow. I think it's slow in a good way. It takes its time. It's interesting. It's good Star Wars. Good world building as always. The actors are
Jesus Christ.
The actors are quite good. I'm excited to see more.
Yeah, now it's time for that graphic. Go ahead.
Actually, one of the things I really liked about Andor is, unlike Boba Fett, unlike Mandalorian, is it is much more interested in taking its world building seriously and not comedy winking at the camera every 2 seconds. And so all the actors that are introduced in Andor are much better, in my opinion, than Mandalorian. Very few freaking stand-up comedians being introduced to do plot lines and whatnot.
Although, hey,
man.
Bill Burr's pretty good.
Yeah, what's wrong with Bill Burr?
Good. Come on, man.
He is not very good, and he jumps out of the screen as not being an actor in a Star Wars.
Oh, he's a terrible actor.
Bro.
Well, yes, that's what he was paid to do.
Yeah,
you see.
not good.
No, and there are other little.
I will agree with you, Hug, on
cool,
that.
but he is Tars from Interstellar. I mean, like it is. So
I'll agree with you, Hug, that I'm enjoying the fact that not everything is like a remember this from Star Wars. Like I hate that stuff. So I just want them to try new things, and this is pretty new. Like The Last Jedi.
Andor, I think.
Like The Last Jedi, it tries a lot of new stuff and has success in it, interestingly. Anyway, let's move on, I guess, because I've broken Hogue. He's going to his happy place.
Dan, you haven't watched it yet, have you? Andor?
No, I haven't had a chance to. It's on the.
It's pretty good. You guys should check it out. Ains, I think you would like the third episode because it's like so. Anyway.
Well,
I'd like one of the three.
On Andor is, like those RPGs where they say it gets good after hour 20. You take that into the equivalent of watching something passive. It is maybe the slowest thing I've seen released by a major studio. It might be ever.
But is it like well written?
Slow.
Like is it like slow but enjoyable, or slow but like plodding?
I think it's slow and it could be enjoyable. The one big mistake is they stretch a flashback that doesn't offer a lot of insight over the full first 3 episodes.
Agree with that. Yeah,
and it's a mistake. And so you do resent it a little bit as things are increasing in stakes in the actual story. You're like, I hope you have something to really show me in this flashback that is going to help like my understanding of everything else. They do not. And so
I agree with that too.
So
it's like building to something, and you're like, what is this building to? This flashback, like it seems like it's really important. Then you get to the end of it, and you're like, oh, okay, it was just.
It's like everything. You did such a good job writing the characters as you introduced them in like the first 10 minutes, where it's like, yep, those are all the relationships that. Yeah, thanks, flashback.
Yeah,
yeah. I think I'm good. I got other stuff to do.
Well, I just skip. If you see the flashback, just roll through it. You're not missing anything.
It goes back.
It's very high production value. Honestly, I respect the Andor production values probably more than Rings of Power. Rings of Power has like huge amounts of money and CGI thrown at it. Andor looks like you remember Star Wars looking, except that's actually better.
Oh, okay.
So it is very good looking.
You remember we mentioned early in the episode around like I could watch that, but I could also rather be playing something. That's probably where Andor is going to end up for me. It's like I
get that too. I get it's not for everybody. For Star Wars, I actually don't even know if it's for Star Wars fans. I think Star Wars fans are probably going to be disappointed. The core audience that expects a certain thing, but for people who like the Star Wars galaxy and the world and that sort of stuff and just want to like spend time in there, I think it's great. So
it's Dark Forces.
Not for everybody.
Do you remember Dark Forces? It's that vibe.
Exactly. It is like Dark Forces. It's not for everybody, but if it's your thing, you're gonna connect with it and be like, this is dope. So
okay,
so far.
Cool. All right, everyone. Chat, you've been awesome today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. I'm gonna start with Hogue today. What you got going on, man?
Well, we're continuing to do hangouts and headlines. It looks like we're going to be talking about Netflix and Bridgerton again tomorrow. By the looks of things, they dropped that lawsuit, so we'll be chatting about that a little bit.
Cool.
And otherwise, hanging out virtual legality. I'm thinking maybe early videos on Microsoft's preening. I get a lot of crap for judging Sony negatively. I'm going to judge Microsoft negatively a little bit, I think, early in this week. Not for balance, just because I think it's deserved. So we'll be doing those in those videos. We got Lawyers and Dragons. I think I'm doing some more tapings this week. If you did catch me on Sacred Symbols Plus, I was on that this past weekend talking about the GTA 6 leaks. And so you can catch that conversation. Otherwise, just hanging out, relishing in my 4-0 Michigan Wolverines that had no close calls to speak of, Dan, and having a good time. Catch me at Hoglaw on Twitter or at the Hoglaw YouTube channel, and check out the new store where the gaming dinosaur that my youngest daughter made is our best seller.
It's upstairs too. I should have had it right here. It's upstairs.
Gaming dinosaur. Check it out. It's linked in my description. Maybe we can convince Ames to put that in his description as well. But otherwise, just having a great time this week. I love the fall. I love it to death. Have a great fall, everybody.
Yeah, I am with you. It is like 75 degrees here. Gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah, windows are all open in my house.
Yeah, man. Travis, get some sleep, my friend.
I will not be doing that because I've got reviews to do.
Get back to Grounded.
I need to get back to Grounded. I actually just got a message from my editor during the show saying 100 hours is enough. Just write the review. So apparently I'm going to write the review and we'll see what
I'm sorry. I have a new virtual legality about IGN's editorial standards coming at you tomorrow.
Yeah. No, that's what he said. He was like, you've played enough of the game to write about it. Like nobody's going to say you didn't play enough. And we have the policy. Generally you finish games, especially if they're story heavy, but if it's like an MMO that never ends or survival game that goes on forever, he's like, just write the review. So
I guess I'm going to be doing that. Disagree necessarily. I don't know if there's going to be a big climactic finale to Grounded, but
I think I know where it's going. I'm in like the 90% of the game. He's like, just write the review. He's letting me die, which is great. So I'm gonna have that review up sometime next week. Embargo's on tomorrow morning, so I will get to talk about it more at that point. And then I'm also doing a video, a top tips for starting with Grounded. That's also going to go live sometime next week. So
that is going to get so many more views than your article.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's an absolutely enormous game with so many things that I wish I knew when I started playing it, because like probably the first 30 hours of the game I did not use well because I was just figuring out how things worked. And so hopefully I can save people time there, and then they can laugh at me like, wow, it took you over 100 hours to beat the game. And I'm like, bitch, I didn't have anyway.
I know you're embargoed, Travis, but just in terms of excitement, is this going to be something that I could play solo, or is it absolutely mandatory to play with others?
You can absolutely play it solo.
Thank you. I won't ask.
I actually think it's better to play with other people, like maybe your daughters and stuff. But yeah, they can get pets.
Yes, but Microsoft, none of these platforms make it super easy to coordinate online play with each other unless they have split screen.
They do not have split screen. Oh, so you're saying you have one Xbox? Okay, I live in a world where I have like 6 Xboxes in my house.
It's tricky because then you can't talk to them about what they're dealing with.
Yeah. And then that I've got other reviews coming up that I can't talk about yet that I'm already starting to work on, and lots of stuff on IG.com. You can follow me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis. You can hear me talk about Destiny on Thursdays. That's it. And you guys should also follow Bitcast, because we're the best kept secret in gaming. And
here's the thing about people. People don't know about this, about liking and subscribing and then telling your friends as the next step, is that there is what we like to call psychological cachet in being first to a party like this one, right? We are the hip band right now that plays in the garage, or maybe at that local dive that doesn't serve the cheeseburgers that you quite like to eat, at least not with a trip to the bathroom afterwards. But pretty soon you're going to want to say, hey, I was in that first 10,000. I was in that first 15,000, because Bitcast and Seasoned Gaming are going places. And hit that like and subscribe, because it's going to make you feel good, and it's going to give you that ego boost you need when you're fronting to another person later on in life and saying, I knew them before they were cool, and they're sellouts now. What assholes. Am I right?
Yeah, we'll see when we get to that conversation. By the way, Hogue, and thank you for that. Michael Jam says, Hogue, you need that G CLOUD Logitech device. Then you can play Grounded all together.
There you go. That's the solution. We found it.
We found it.
My poor router would be like, okay.
just buy a Series S. Get one of those. I have a Series S with one of those screens. It closes like a laptop, and you open it. That, honestly, that's a better solution than the Logitech. That thing's amazing.
I love this.
All right. Yeah, on Seasoned Gaming, actually, I think we're going to have a new contributor joining us this week. Funny enough, my appearance on Defining Duke Ultimate, I had a bunch of people reach out to me, really nice people. I got some lovely negative comments too, but some nice people reached out. Yeah. And because of that, a gentleman who has experience in the industry wants to come hang out and write with us. So I've talked to him. He should be joining us this week. So I'll introduce him when that's appropriate. If you saw my pictures yesterday, I finally unboxed the Doomslayer statue, which is sitting to my left. I would have had it here, but no joke, the camera would have had to go up to the ceiling because it is obnoxiously large. I can't describe in reality just how big it is. It is I had to put it to the side.
Folks, in the vid. Clip out the last 30 seconds of Ains for me. Thanks.
I had to put it to the side in the video because if I stood behind it, you couldn't see me, and I'm 6'1". So it's a bit ridiculous. But that video will be coming this week. It's really cool. One of the coolest statues I've ever seen. So you can check that out as well. Other than that, thank you as always for tuning into the Bitcast. Your weekly gaming show covering all things Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and PC with industry, technical, and legal insight. Until next week, peace.
See you, folks.